Okay, this is a regular board meeting of April 29, 2021. It's 5:55:02 now. We will begin roll call. Mary, please.
President Lay,
Here.
Vice President Herrera,
Here.
Clerk Chavez.
Here.
Member Cortese will be joining shortly. Member Doe.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we move to agenda item 1.02. I want to welcome to the regular board meeting of April 29, 2021. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide public comment to the board on a closed session agenda item at this time? Did you see anyone? No?
Madam President, we have no hands raised.
Okay, good. All right.
There is no written public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Van der Zee. The board will now recess to closed session. All right, so now let's move to agenda item 4.01. I would like to welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of April 29, 2021. Member of the public, please submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district homepage at www.esuhsd.org. Please limit your written comment to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comments submitted online will be read into the record. You may also raise your virtual hand excuse me, in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. All meetings are recorded. All regular and special board meeting of the board trustee and board study session are streamlined on meeting nights and also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district YouTube channel listed on the district webpage at www.esuhsd.org under the quick link section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comments will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda and the district website. So we move to 5.01, adoption of agenda. The superintendent and board members may request that item may be moved from agenda for consideration and or carried to a future board member for consideration and or action, and or that the board take action in a regular meeting on a subject not listed on the published agenda on an emergency basis or other basis allowed by law, Gov Code 54954.2. So item number 6 will be board special recognition 6.01 staff building equitable community. Do we have any staff equitable community this today?
At this time, no.
All right, we move to 7. Item 7, student board liaison. So 7.01, Bruce Nguyen, student governance board representative. Please take it over.
Yeah, thank you and hello everyone. My name is Bruce Nguyen and I'm the student board representative, of course, and I also represent the student governing board. Today I will deliver a report, and if you can scroll down one more, I will recap the meeting that happened last Monday. The date is a bit off. The SGB meeting occurred last Monday, and we have continued discussions about student government and holding student leadership accountable. So the Student Governing Board yet again received another report at a third Eastside campus. This is an update from the last board meeting where I mentioned there were 2 campuses, Piedmont Hills and also Independence High School. And now, as of this week, we received another report from Oak Grove High School regarding an active discrimination that occurred, which became publicly known on social media and their school ASB has also released another statement. We are looking into asking the activities director about what occurred, because the only information we know as of now is what occurred on social media. And as you can see on the bottom right, this is the post from Oak Grove High School's Associated Student Body. This is shocking, actually, because now that there have been 3 incidents that have happened at 3 Eastside Union High School District campuses where student leaders have responded to acts of discrimination. So right now, Student Governing Board is tabling the resolution to next week as we respond to this incident, and also to strengthen our resolution on holding student leadership accountable, because we want to make sure that all schools understand that you know, acts of racism, acts of discrimination are not appropriate, and there should be some sort of conduct that is strong and written into their constitutions. So that is my update on Student Governing Board meeting. Next slide. This is an update on the conditions of the stadium at Independence High School. I am a student, so I know firsthand how it looks. So there is an ongoing petition for repairing the turf. These pictures below show the current condition where the turf looks torn up. There are several holes, and sports can't really be held on here because of the risk of injury. And I know that many students and athletes here are very hesitant of holding sports activities here. So they are asking the district to take action on this to repair the stadium as soon as possible, so that sports can continue and more events can be held here, such as graduation. So next slide. This is just an update about the Student Governing Board discussions on sex education in Title IX. In our meeting last Monday, we talked about how the district should look into how biology teachers that freshmen typically go towards in their first year, should feel more comfortable about talking about consent and other social issues, because in 2021, these issues are very, very prevalent. And many of these resources can be found online. However, it'd be more helpful for biology teachers to create that conversation in their classrooms about consent. And the district can also take a look at this and figure out how the language can be used to ensure that there is comfort between both students, teachers, and parents. On the right side, we wanted to also highlight Title IX policies, where we feel as an SUB are a major barrier for sexual assault survivors. And we feel that it's not doing enough to hold the assaulter accountable. People are not educated about boundaries. Like I said, there isn't enough education about consent, and not many people know that even if their incident did happen, they know the definition of sexual assault. And lastly, we would want to, urge the district to start changing the curriculum in sex education to make it more inclusive, and also honoring or honing in on the values of consent. And next slide. So in regards to COVID-19, I received an email from the county that talks about the vaccine clinic for 16 to 19-year-olds. I'm sure the district also received the same email. I just wanted to put this in my presentation in order to encourage students and also parents to vaccinate their children. Some of the incentives here are the free boba, cookies, and reusable straws that is offered when you do get the vaccination. And then you don't need appointments, you don't need health insurance, everyone is welcome. And that's pretty much the update here. I will send out these flyers and resources on social media. And then lastly, some of the action items is continued off of last board meeting. We're going to be continuing to look into more sexual education resources with the YWCA. We also are intending to contact the Associate Superintendent of Educational Services and subject area coordinators in regards to sexual education as well. And then we're going to talk about SGB elections to ensure that all members of the Student Governing Board are elected for the next school year. If not, then we will have appointments to each position. And then the anti-racism town hall, which was discussed in the past few months, will be scheduled to perhaps late May because of AP exams and finals coming up and everything. We wanted to make sure that enough students are able to participate, as well as staff and administrators. And we will continue the discussion of student accountability next Monday, May 3rd, and perhaps present the SGB resolution. So with that said, that concludes my report. I am open to answering any questions from the board.
Well, Bruce, this is a lot of works. I commend for you and your group that working on those action items. I heard that you mentioned about the sex education and ensure that we have, the language that comfort, both student and teacher. I think that's very important because each culture has a different way to approach about sex education, as well as, from Asian community as well as other community, right? So I really commend you for, pay attention for those little details, which really affect, the big part of the community that we surrounded. So, looking forward to see if you have any flyer and you can forward to our board. If we could attend, then we would like to support. So I think this is something that's very interesting, to us. If not, just only myself, but I think we're very interested to hear from, the town hall. I'm open up for other board member. Anyone would like to say anything, or I did not see other hands. So Chris, could you help me see if anyone raised hand?
There is public comment, public written comment on this item.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Vandazzi.
This is from Justicia de la Gente, a community advocate. Bruce Nguyen encompasses everything this district needs. I'm pleased that students are getting their voices heard. I'm very proud of this young, mature, and extremely intelligent young man. He is a ray of sunshine that this district is in desperate need of. Thank you, Mr. Nguyen, for your courage, leadership, and example to our youth. Thank you, Member Doe, for looking out for our student leader and ensuring his voice is heard. Thank you, Member Cortese, for always treating our students with respect they deserve and for caring about the matters our students bring up. I was disappointed in the superintendent's response to Mr. Nguyen's question in the last board meeting. Students should always be treated with respect. The superintendent reply was rude, disrespectful, and it showed a lack of caring for the subject at hand. Despite fake praise, now that this arrogant man is finally being replaced, many parents and teachers agree that the superintendent's exit is long overdue. That's the end of public comment on this item.
Thank you for the public comment. Any other comment? If not,
Trustee Chavez, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you as always, Bruce, for such a comprehensive report and for constantly bringing things to our attention and making sure that they're front and center. Really appreciate that. I do have a question about the elections for SGB. I know part of the task force, the diversity task force, was not only to ensure that we had elections for SGB, that there was an election process, but also that there would be strategies in place, learnings to ensure that it would take place in a way that it would increase the diversity. I'm curious to know, because it's about the time now where in the past, at least, this is when elections have been taking place. I don't know if what your learnings are, what you're hoping to be different, or if you're thinking it's going to happen early next year, just to be purposeful. So I want to hear what's top of mind for you on that.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So the purpose of the diversity task force is, of course, to diversify the students that are represented in student governing board as well as other student offices. And what we believe right now in terms of the acts of racism and discrimination in each school campus, not only does that create a difficulty, a barrier for students to run for office, it intimidates students of color from running because they know that, students have previously made comments that would offend and discriminate. So that is something that the diversity task force is working with schools like Piedmont Hills right now in regards to how to better create inclusive elections, how to reach out to different communities, right? How to ensure that these actions don't happen again, and to preserve the value of student leadership, which is to represent all bodies and all students. So as of right now, the diversity task force is working to ensure that all ASBs are working on some sort of response or some sort of statement, which should be written in the forms that students would have to sign when they do become a candidate for student elections. They would have to acknowledge that they should not be someone that would make these comments in the first place. So, and right now, it's we're working on that. Yeah.
Well, I started doing some of this work with you, and my offer's still on the table. If you want, to continue brainstorming, thinking through goals, through the questions, through whatever, I am here to support you and dig into the work. So let me know. But this is, I really appreciate a lot of the reflections that you've had, really important, and some important key next steps. And I'm just excited to see the fruition of it all.
All right, Mr. Manuel Herrera.
Just want to again appreciate your representation, your leadership, Bruce. That's all. I mean, I would just ditto so much of what is always said at every meeting. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, then we move to 8.01. The superintendent and or board member may request that item to be considered, discussed, and acted out of the order indicated on the agenda as per schedule. I don't see anyone want to do that, so we move to 8.02, which is discussion and action to adopt resolution number 2020/2021-29, recognizing and honoring the flag of the former Republic of Vietnam and honoring the contribution of Vietnamese Americans. This is the item that's very dear to my heart, and I'm glad that Superintendent Fung putting into this today, because tomorrow is April 30th. Everyone probably will see the item that we put it on the screen. I like to open, I don't know how many people in the public would like to speak. So I want to open for them to speak. Then I will ask any board member had any comments after that. Chris, do you see any other one?
Yeah, Madam President, our first speaker is Joanna Shea. You may unmute yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Joanna Shea. Oh, can I show my face too?
No.
You don't have to.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? I'm good, right?
Uh-huh.
I teach at Independence High School. I'm a chemistry teacher, and I had been teaching for 23 years. And I want to assure the board that, and then the Vietnamese community, is the flag somehow is really dear to my heart. I grew up in Hong Kong, and then I heard of the Vietnam War on news and all that. Ever since for many years until I came here, and I came here in 74. So 75 is the fall of Saigon. And I heard of all these stories. But I want to assure the community that we really respect the three stripes Vietnamese flag, because that's the first flag I learned of Vietnam. And interesting enough, I searched and I talked to the teachers in Independence High School. Majority of them only know about the flag. And I have to admit that I don't even know there's another flag that exists until one day I just Google it. Independence High School has been, had made a mistake a couple of years ago because the teachers were doing a project and just Google the flag. And then they didn't realize that the three stripe flags is actually the South Vietnamese flag that represent our community in San Jose. Ever since then, all the teachers at Independence, art teachers, PE teachers, dance teacher, all had learned the lesson. And I checked with them in the last multicultural assembly that they all had known that that's the right flag to use. And we had been adopting this. And I took a few pictures with our not in person, distance, multicultural assembly, and they are presenting the flag at center right as the, the South Vietnamese flag. Okay, this speech is not prepared. I just come out from my heart. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. We will have some picture later on, to show. Thank you for sending those pictures to me. So who will be the next comment?
Yes, Sam Ho, you may unmute.
Thank you, Superintendent. Good afternoon. My name is Sam Ho, Director of Communications, Community Relations, and Diversity at San Jose Evergreen Community College and a member of the Vietnamese community. Greetings, Board President Van Lee, Vice President Manuel Herrera, Trustee Brian Doe, Trustee Lorena Chavez, Trustee Patty Cortese, Student Government Board Chairperson Bruce Nguyen, Vice Chairperson Francine Astronero, Superintendent Chris Funk, staff, teachers, and the community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of resolution number 2020/2021-29, recognizing and honoring the flag of the former Republic of Vietnam and honoring the contributions of Vietnamese Americans. First, we are grateful for America despite its ongoing struggles. America is still and will always be the greatest country on earth, built by immigrants from all over the world. Among them are Vietnamese Americans. For the past 46 years since the Vietnam War ended, when Vietnamese communists stormed and took over Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, on April 30th, 1975, millions of South Vietnamese courageously at all costs began their exodus from Vietnam, fleeing the North Vietnamese communist regime because of its inhumanities and atrocities, which caused immeasurable suffering and loss for millions of those who left, and millions of those who are left behind. The Vietnamese Americans share with other immigrants and their families in the courage, struggle, resiliency, and will to survive embedded in the American spirit to build a better future. We urge that you adopt this resolution 2020-2021/29 in recognizing and honoring the flag of the former Republic of Vietnam and honoring the contributions of Vietnamese Americans throughout the Eastside Union High School District and beyond, as a testament of shared values for freedom, democracy, equity, and human rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam Ho.
Mr. Lee, you're up. You may unmute, please.
Maybe we'll have many more, Mr. Lee. I don't see them. We can come back.
Okay. Hall True, you may speak, please. Unmute.
Quý vị, nếu quý vị nói, quý vị có thể unmute, là quý vị bấm vô cái chỗ mà mute á, để quý vị mới có thể nói được. Thành ra Vân Lê không biết là Vân Lê không thấy quý vị ở trên.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Oh yes, I can, Ha Chiu.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, because the prompt will come up late after I talk. Okay, my name is Ha Chiu, and I the president of the former Vietnamese Regional and Popular Foundation, and I'm very, excited when you guys bring up the solution 20, and 2021, that 29, even elite compared with the city and county, they start on a 2005. But we need you, because with your recognition, with your resolution, every school in San Jose won't confuse between Vietnamese Republic flag with the communist flag. Like I say thank you to the teacher. She was in Hong Kong, and she really recognized a South Vietnam flag. It's a yellow with the three red stripe. Okay, and I hope after this, your vote is this 100%. And from now on, every school in the San Jose not confused between Vietnamese, South Vietnamese flags compared with communist flag. and no more we need to go any school to explain any principle about this flag. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Phuc Lee, are you able to unmute?
Anh Phúc, anh có thể unmute.
Mute now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Phuc Lee. I am from the former Vietnamese Armed Forces Veterans Association in the Northern California. And on behalf of the Vietnamese Armed Forces, I appreciate for the recognition and honor of our flag. It has been 46 years, but this flag still remains in our heart. With this flag, we have formed the boundary between us and the communist government, the boundary between right and wrong, between the civilization and barbarism, between intellect and ignorance, between democracy and dictator, and between heroic and cowardly. This flag represents humanity, freedom, and democracy, and which one day we hope will replace the flag of the Viet Cong fly on over the Vietnam. We also thank the Board of Trustees for their intention to encourage the recognition, commemoration, and honor of the Fall Saigon on the April 30th, 1975. I know looking back and retelling the Vietnamese War will bring back the painful memories. But what about our brothers and sisters who were unjustly killed in the war? We don't want them to die in vain and to be forgotten by generations to come. Okay, once again, many thanks for your attention, and I wish you on more and more advancement on the political path.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the raised hands, Madam President.
Madam
Yes.
President, we do have written public comment on this item.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Mr. Van der Zee.
This written comment comes from Lap Duan, a parent. The Vietnamese communist regime killed hundreds of thousands during the land reform and launched war against South Vietnam from 1954 to 1975. During the war, Communist Army attacked cities and villages, killing hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians. In the new year of 1968, the communists violated the ceasefire, attacked cities and villages, killing and burying tens of thousands of people alive, especially in Hue. Now they are implementing a one-party dictatorship, depriving them of basic freedoms such as speech, opinion, and association. They arrest dissidents. On April 30, 1975, after occupying the South, they sent South Vietnamese soldiers to the labor camps in the jungle or mountaintops, depriving the South Vietnamese of their property. That was the reason millions of Vietnamese have left the country. For the Vietnamese in exile, the yellow flag with 3 red stripes is the symbol of the free Vietnam. That is the end of public comment on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Van der Zee.
Madam President, we have one more raised hand. Douglas Nguyen, you may speak. Unmute, please.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Douglas Nguyen. I'm a member of the Vietnamese community in Northern California for the 40 years. So far, we hear the resolution of the 2020 from the East Side Union High School District. I'm very happy because at least 46 years we have in the San Jose, California, we have this solution is very good for us for this time. We can develop Vietnamese community and we unite the Vietnamese over here. So that's why we would like to thank you very much for the member and every officer in East Side Union High School District for resolution about this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Chris?
Not from the attendees. I see Trustee Chavez has her hand up.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I am feeling really, really moved right now by all of our community's comments. I think this is beautiful when we have community members come and speak what is top of heart, top of mind, sharing their experience. And we know that there are a lot of Vietnamese students in our district. And in order to really serve all of our students across the board, it's important for us to know their cultures, their history, so that we can empathize and support them as needed. And so I thought this was the perfect example of authentic engagement with community, so that we, as we make decisions, we're aware of some of the impacts and things that our community brings. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of our community for coming and speaking. It was really moving, so thank you.
Let's go ahead, Patty Cortese.
That's exactly what I was going to say, exactly what she just said. So I won't repeat all that, but I will say, you know, I recognize that tomorrow is a gravely sad day that we remember. And I'll be participating in a ceremony to remember people who willingly gave their lives for the values that are embodied in that yellow flag. So this is a resolution that we've done for several years now, I believe, and it's critically important to let our community know that we understand. Actually, I don't. That's an arrogant thing to say, because I don't think I can ever truly understand what that lived experience was like. But I just want to say that I recognize the struggle and the suffering and the hope that flag represents. So I'm very happy to support this resolution.
Mr. Herrera.
Just want to convey my deep respect to our Vietnamese community, and it's an honor for us to be able to join you in commemorating this annual event, which signifies your journey to freedom, your faithfulness in upholding your community's highest values of democracy and of freedom. And so it moves me that we have in this area the largest Vietnamese community in the United States outside of Vietnam. And it really does warm my heart that we are in partnership and have this opportunity to give our respect and honor the Vietnamese community. Thank you.
Yes, Chris, could you put this picture to the audience so they can see before I'm asking Board Member Doe? Would you like to say your comments?
Yes, thank you, Board President Lei. First, it is such an honor and privilege for me to sit here and not only to get to hear your comment, but in a few minutes, I will be able to vote for this resolutions. As some of you may know, more than a decade ago, I was able to help draft the resolutions to recognize the Vietnamese Freedom and Heritage flag for the city of San Jose, and I was able to support in all the cities. But what you may not know was that this comes very personal for me. When I was a middle school student in the US, in San Jose, I just came to America a few years before that. And in one of the assignment that we had was similar to United Nations model for part of our lessons. And I was selected to represent Vietnam in our small classrooms. And the flag that was chosen by the teachers was one which they obviously obtained from encyclopedia, and was the communist flags. So I refused to sit under that particular communist flags. But my English was not very good, so I was not able to convey why I refused to sit under the communist flags. And so my teacher was very confused. And I was very stubborn, refusing to sit where I was supposed to sit. So finally, the teacher sent me to the principal office. This is probably one of the few rare times, if not the only time, where I actually had to be sent to the principal office, but I was not able to convey how I feel. So I'm hoping with this resolutions, we would able to share this resolution to share with our teachers and encourage our teachers, particularly in class in history and social studies, to have a discussions about the meaning of this flag and what it means for Vietnamese American students. So in a few minutes, I also want to thank all the public commenters, and I will be able to thank for commenting, but I also really have a privilege and honor to vote for this particular resolution. And I thank my colleagues for allowing us to this opportunity.
I really want to say this moment is, I'm also emotional because every time we talk about April 30th, it's very dear to my heart because I've been through the tragic. We left Vietnam on the last day of fall of Saigon. And I'm proud that we are the first district that adopt and vote for the resolution for the Vietnamese freedom and heritage flag. But I know that April 29th, my family, my mom did not want to go because you know, my mom still has her parents, and my dad has only a small car, and we have to fit like 10 people in there, and we don't know who we're gonna take and who we're gonna leave. So it's very emotional for me, and I'm very happy that we landed into you know, a safe and freedom land. And I really treasure for all of those board comments and support, as well as the public comments. And as you know that I've been visit, you know, several schools, and I would talk like Overfell as well as Independence, that I really want to see that should we implement those freedom flag into our district, because sometimes the resolution, we were stuck at our board district, but we really did not expand to, you know, all of those teachers as well as to 11 comprehensive high school. And I'm so happy to see, you know, like teacher Joanna Shea spoke today when I attend the multicultural event, and I saw the flag, the wrong flag, and I mentioned right away to the principal as well as the teacher, and finally we changed it. And to me, that the flag is really mean a lot to me, is the freedom that we risk our life, you know. And every time that like April 30th is really hard for me, like on my family, we have gone through. I mean, I thought that I would die during the journey that come to America. Actually, we didn't even know that we left Vietnam for another country. We just want to hide the bomb. And to this day is a 46 year. And it's really still mean a lot to me. And I really appreciate, you know, Superintendent Fung to bring this resolution back. And I hope that we will implement, you know, one of the course in ethnic study to the East Side student, so they can learn the sacrifice of their ancestor, their grandparent, their parent, that they have a better life, better education that come to America. Like I said, I did not have a choice. And on the way that we went by boat, and my boat received the two big holes that 6 people died in front of me. It's a very tragic in my childhood. And I still emotional, as well as like Mr. Sam Ho. It's really dear to my heart. But I want to acknowledge, you know, all of those 58,000 American soldiers, as well as the Vietnamese soldier who fought for the freedom, for the flag of the Vietnamese of South Republic of Vietnam. And I could not say anything more than treasure to my life, to the end of my life, this flag always in me. And I'm happy to support it. I would like to say a few words in Vietnamese. Vâng Lê là Chủ tịch Học khu Eastside. Vâng Lê cảm ơn các đóng góp của tất cả quý vị đã đến để nói về cái ý nghĩa của cái ngày 30 tháng 4, cũng như một số quý vị đã gửi email đến cho Vân Lê. Thì chúng ta cũng cần phải cố gắng để mà duy trì, để cho thế hệ tương lai hiểu rõ rằng là cái lá cờ vàng ba sọc đỏ này nó biểu tượng như thế nào cho cộng đồng của chúng ta ở đây. Đây là một cái dịp mà chúng ta cho các em học sinh ở trong học khu Eastside hiểu về vấn đề lịch sử, tại sao ba mẹ cũng như tất cả những cựu chiến binh Hoa Kỳ và các chiến sĩ Việt Nam đã hy sinh để mà cho các em có được một cái cuộc sống cũng như một cái thế giới được tự do hơn, và các em có được một cái nền giáo dục thật là thoải mái, thật là tốt đẹp cho các em. Vì vậy một số người đã hy sinh để cho chúng ta có được ngày hôm nay. Vâng, lời cảm ơn sự đóng góp của tất cả quý vị. Okay, so I think now let's call for the vote. Mary.
Madam President, you should move the motion for adopting, and perhaps Member Doe should second it. You know?
Right.
Thank you.
I'm emotional. Okay. I vote yes for this resolution.
I
Need
believe
a motion.
you can make the motions. The honor should go to you,
Okay.
or President Lay.
Yeah. I motion for this item as a approve the resolution 2020-2021-29. And I hope that was next year if we will introduce to the board study, ethnic study into the board resolution. Hopefully that we include that into the next year.
With great honor, I would like to second your motions, and I also would like to support your comment that this should be included in ethics studies in future years.
All right, I need the roll call, please, Mary.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Nguyen, how do you vote?
As a second generation Vietnamese American and a student of Eastside Union, I vote yes.
Thank you. Board roll call vote, President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
I would like to hear from Bruce. You are the second generation, and I'm sure that your parents, your grandparents been through what my generation been through. Could you share your comments with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my family, they came from Vietnam, and they had to escape, a lot of the violence and the war that occurred. And my dad gave his story where his family had to escape to the Philippines for several years before coming to the United States. It is a very interesting experience because he also told me that going to America was a really different experience for him, and because America was a different time back then, and he lived in Los Angeles, he had to have he faced many different obstacles with learning English, learning like the culture of America, and same for my mom as well. Like coming to America for her is also very interesting experience. They were actually rescued by I would say an American warship or something. So both of my parents' stories were really inspiring to me, and that's how I came to be, to help other people, to represent my own community, and to represent students that need it the most. So that's pretty much what I can give, and thank you everyone for presenting this resolution.
Thank you, Bruce, for your comments, and I really appreciate that you share this comment with all of us. That I would like to say the last word with the community that Vâng Lê cảm ơn tất cả quý vị đã đóng góp ý kiến, và nếu quý vị muốn theo dõi cái buổi họp này thì quý vị vẫn tiếp tục ở trên Zoom, còn không thì quý vị cũng có thể ra khỏi cái Zoom. Và đó là cái lời nhắn của Vân Lê. Vân Lê trân trọng cảm ơn và kính chúc tất cả quý vị sự an lành và hạnh phúc. Okay, so that's 8.02. So now we move to 8.03, which is presentation and discussion regarding single plan for student achievement as PSA. Noemi Ramirez, Principal Bjorn Bird, Principal Jose Hernandez, Principal, and Teresa Marquez, Associate Superintendent of Educational Services. Please take it over.
Thank you, Madam President. So tonight we continue with our presentations around our site's single plan for student achievement. And it is with great pleasure that I present to you our three principals for each of our schools that will be presenting. And first up will be Noemi Ramirez, Principal of Foothill High School.
Good evening, board members. It's an honor to be in your presence. A hard act to follow, President Van Lay, but thank you for having me here today and representing the community. This is my third year at Foothill High School. I'm going to share with you a little bit about our SIPSA plan and giving to you in regards to like building the school. So I want to have you keep that in mind. I know that at Foothill, we hold dear the values of equity principles that the board has a resolution and has an equity statement, and accepting kids for who they are, I think, is our #1 value that we have. I do not know if I have, oh yes. So, and I think that's our biggest strength that we have at Foothill. That student that walks in the door is the one that we welcome. And as we welcome our students back with our cohorts, and as we welcome our students back just as they are, we look forward to all the opportunities that we'll have in strengthening our relationships. And so you'll see in our plan for single plan for student achievement, as we talk to that, the foundational piece, and we're going to kind of start from the top of our roof. And so you're going to see a little bit about who we are. So, and I like to put at Foothill, since we are a small school, about 300 so students, we really are we're talking about the students. So when we talk about how many Latinx, Latino, Latinas, we have 267 students walking through the doors, right? Asians, we have about 5%, 14 of our students. And then we have, you kind of go down the list of who are we and who we have. I am a bilingual speaker, and my front office staff is about 80 or 90% speak Spanish. And so we do have representation in the language of our community that we service. But when we look at specifically, and when we're talking about single plan for student achievement, we talk about our English learners and our socially economically disadvantaged. So when you look at our English learners, we're talking about 75 or so students per year. And so that's a manageable group that you think about. If we could make strides and moving the students forward, we're talking about 75 students, or 26% of our school. And as you know, when you look at interventions and when you look at implementing programs, when you have more than 20% of your population, you're going to do the intervention in classrooms. So all the interventions that you're going to see here are classroom-based frontline interventions, because they'll benefit not only all students, but they'll benefit the targeted amount of students that we have. And of course, we have about 83%, so almost our whole school is socially economically disadvantaged, which means that once we make an impact on our students, they can grow and flourish. So we have the greatest opportunity to affect our community because we have 83%, which is a great advantage to Foothill, since we are able to reach out and give services to our students. So if you can do the next slide. And then you see the theory of action about that relates to our MTSS1 work in regards to us accepting kids as who they are. You're going to see this pyramid, and I know you've seen pyramids before. I want you to think of this pyramid as a roof, and this is an homage to Mr. Glenn Vanderdy a couple of years ago talked about roof, and Teresa Marquez is probably laughing about this at this point. So if you think about our roof, and these are the 5 strategies that we're looking at for SIPSA goals: providing physical and emotional support, to ensure our students are making appropriate yearly progress towards high school graduation. And we take any student. A 5-credit senior is welcome through the door. A student that has some engagement in the Justice Department, we welcome them through the door. So we want to make sure that we are the place that provides them their well-being, not only safe place, but their ability to move forward in their path. Provide high quality instruction, learning opportunities, as well as guidance supporting to prepare them graduate for college and career. And as you know, this board, along with Superintendent Chris Funks, has always supported having an academic counselor on our campus and a social worker. So we are a fully functioning school. We have all the resources that we need. Obviously, we always like more, but we do have the resources at a basic level to ensure that our students can not only can meet their own goals, but we can push them towards stretching and meeting goals that might open doors for them. Provide program supports and instructional strategies to obtain English language proficiency. And that's speaking to that we're implementing all school-wide strategies. So you'll see PD that all of our students are, not only our students benefit from, but our teachers are participating so that all students benefit. So we've done closed reading strategies. A lot of our PD has to focus on transformational learning because we're doing cultural based, and you heard me present about this last year a little bit when we talked about our school. And establishing a safe, healthy school culture through relationship-centered practices. And that's again to transformational learning, ensuring that we, just like members here spoke about the richness of their culture, and you see the passion and the engagement that they have with that. How do we infuse that in their core curriculum to ensure that our students bring their own richness? And that's kind of the transformational learning. And engage with and connect with students and families to appropriate staff, supports and program alternatives to increase student attendance. And that's our biggest, one of the challenges that we have is once a student has decided that Foothill is a good option for them, how do we engage them to make sure that they're here and that we can engage in building community, we can engage in the resources that are there, and having them attend is step one, right? If we can have them show up, we can have them engage with us and show up, and we measure growth. So did they show up 40% of the time before and now they're showing 75%? Well, they're growing. So how do we keep on having them grow with us? So those are our 5 SIPSA goals. And then you're going to see, those goals on top. That's kind of the roof. And now the pillars, right? So what are we doing? And this is kind of like the house. And I put a little schoolhouse on the corner so you kind of see where I was trying to build this from. And this is the vision. So if you see professional development and restorative practice and transformational learning, that's one of the pillars. CEOs, which are credit earning opportunities and recovery program. We're having teachers engage in what's high interest and how do they, we build curriculum and having earning them. Parent engagement meetings and orientation class for all students. That's one of our pillars. And community building activities in classroom, culturally relevant materials supplemental to the core curriculum. And the big reach one, and I know we talked about what are we striving for? And that's a little flag that we're going to eventually wave. It hasn't been designed. We talked about it last year. They're still with the Compadres Network. They're still working on developing it. They're only at the elementary school level. They're working to develop it with the high school level, which is us. But eventually, like a transformational learning school, you have your IB, and you'll hear about it, IB certified school at Andrew Hill. We want to be a transformational learning certified school with our flag. And so not to knock Andrew Hill, but we're going to have our certification soon too. And if you go to the next one, and so, but the big foundational piece, and there is, and I'm going to say there is cracks in our foundation. And those are the cracks. The big strength is our foundational piece. What our last say was our strengths. They said, hey, you do well in supporting well-being, focus on social and emotional. You rock at being like a welcoming environment. We give kids not only second, third, after the 14th chance, we'll take a look if they need one more chance, right? So all those things, we have low suspension and expulsion rates. We obviously have a very small campus, even though we're the largest comprehensive school in Northern California. But we have some cracks, and these are the ones that we're gonna have to work on. So if I would have had a little bit more skills, I would have had like some patches on there, but we have to do this follow-up area on expand credit earning opportunities. The superintendent and associate superintendents have charged with, hey, you need to offer more in-class assignments. So we are offering more 6-period days for our kids. Benchmarks, we need to make sure that we are pushing our kids and we are actually evaluating how we're doing in the core subjects. And so those are on the right-hand side of the foundational piece, that's the one that needs training. So if you see me and my work crew, and this is what we're working on, that's what we're working on. And everything on top of that is to build to that. And so that's what I wanted to present as far as our SIPS goals here at Foothill.
That's it, Naomi?
That's it, Mr. President Van Lay, but I want to point out that I was trying to be creative. I didn't give you a chart, which I normally would. I'm a math major, but I was trying to. I know, here it is.
No problem. I think I really like the small school setting, and for your presentation. And I always love to attend the graduation every year at your school. But I was wondering that how did your student, how do they do during the distance learning? And also when we try to reopen on April 19, how many students that really want to come back in person?
So we had 30 students sign up originally for coming back out of 300, which is about 10%. We had our big group was 10 that actually showed up. We're engaging with them, but an interesting thing happened, and I'm going to tell you this, kind of a byproduct. So students kind of were told, hey, we have in person, so we either need to show you up in person or online. And so we had many of our classes had full online participation that we haven't had before because the kids did not want to show up in person. So I thought that was an interesting byproduct of us being open. They kind of go, oh, wait, I have to show up and participate. So distance learning has been a definite challenge for our students. And in the many parent meetings that I've had about the fact that our students are not doing so well with it, we're working on, so let's focus in on this summer, because we're always having in-person this summer. So we've been focusing on our next steps, and rather than and focusing on that our students are well, that they're engaged, and that we're trying to make sure that they're engaged in positive, if it's not schooling, positive things for themselves, such as getting jobs and being overall healthy. So, but they have not done academically as well as we'd hope they would.
Awesome. I know every time that I attend, I visit your school, most of students always ask the dress code. How does that dress code still implement in your school, or how does it work now?
Yes, we the dress code was something we said goodbye to about 2 years ago. And we've been doing I believe we've been doing very well. No discipline issues for that. Of course, the first thing is accepting students who they are, is just exactly that. And so the dress code has the staff, I led them through a process, and we voted, and they voted that they didn't want it anymore. And so we are just like every other comprehensive school that has no dress code and just follows guidance.
Awesome, thank you. Let me ask board member Lorena Chavez, and after that, board member Patty Cortese would like to ask you some questions. Go ahead, Lorena.
Thank you. Naomi, I have to appreciate your creativeness in this presentation. I love how you just formatted everything so that we can make sense of it in different ways. So it's very clear that you are thoughtful about what you're doing, why you're doing it, where you see the opportunities through the cracks, I think you refer to them as. Three things. One, the Compadre Network. I want to learn more about that in this Transformational Learning Certified School. I'm super curious about that. And I'll just go with two. The other thing is, you mentioned a lot of stuff, but when you think about your school, the needs, where it's doing really well, the goals, metrics, everything, and you reflect and say, this is the thing that is the biggest lever to move us towards academic achievement, to like that I want to reach, to get students to school, whatever it is. What would you say that is? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like, this is the key.
It's our biggest need, board member Lorena Chavez, and that's our benchmarks. And the benchmarks attached to the cultural learning. So those two things kind of combined are the biggest needs, because although we are very welcoming, we haven't really measured how much and proven how much our kids have grown with us. And so that's, I think, our biggest need. Those two components kind of married together, the cultural richness of curriculum and then benchmarks, and us developing them along with the district. Yes.
Got it. Is that something that's already underway, or you're thinking about how to do that? Or
The district already has supported us through the two core. There's two cores at math and English that are very, very well established. It's just establishing them in another two core areas so we can be more cemented with our kids. And since we're such a small school, we have an opportunity here to really get that dialed in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead, Board Member Kotisi.
Thank you. Noemi, I just love your energy and you know, the authenticity with which you say, you know, all students are welcome as they are. Like, I get it. That is straight from your heart. And so thank you for that, because I know your students are especially dear to me. You know, my volunteer activities in the district started at Foothill. So I'm very grateful for the energy that you bring and the big open arms and the like, okay, 14 chances, let's go. You know, I love that. And I just wanted to also say that we would love to hear more about this transformational learning certified school when you get more information. I realize that's a work in process, but you know, when that comes to fruition, I'd love to hear about it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, Board Member Herrera.
Yes, I too want to appreciate your presentation and the heart and spirit that you are bringing to working with our students at Foothill. And it just reminds me that it's been way too long since I have visited Foothill campus. So you're going to be seeing me in the not too distant future. And thank you for all that you're doing, for your leadership and your service, and especially your big, big heart for our students at Foothill. Muchas gracias.
Awesome. Any other board member? I did not see anyone. Oh, Brian. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Thank you, Board President Lay. I just want to take a few moments to echo a very similar message to that my colleague have said. I absolutely appreciate your energies, your heart, and I really appreciate your forthrightness to say there are some issues, some crack that we need to work on. I absolutely love it. And like my colleague, Trustee Herrera said, I would like to visit your campus, your site. So I'm aiming to go on Wednesday when all the students there. I was at Independent High School yesterday and I enjoyed that thoroughly. So I'm intending to visit as many school sites between now to the end of the school year on a Wednesday when the students are there. So if my colleagues would like to come join me, that'd be fantastic. And I look forward to seeing as many school campus between now and the end of the school year.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so now we move to Independence High School. Do we have any other comments? So Principal, Independence High School, please take it away.
All right, thank you, Board President Lay. Board members, thank you for having me today to talk about Independence. I will also be joined by Associate Principal Mr. Lansoff to speak about Pegasus afterwards, our sister school on the same campus. I really enjoyed going after Ms. Ramirez, much like we did in our last presentation, because it's just the dichotomy, the difference between our two major schools, such a small school and such a large school. Like all other schools in the district, equitable communities is what we're about, making sure that all of our students are welcomed as they are. We know their strengths, students like Bruce, getting to know them and seeing them develop through the years, making sure the adults positively respond, making sure that we know what we need to do to make sure our students are treated appropriately and fairly, and then making sure that all students are engaged with tasks. And that's one of those things that Independence has so many opportunities for. And I just love the number of options and things that we have challenging our students and preparing them for the future. So I am a fan of charts, so bear with me on this. As you can see, our enrollment has declined through the past few years. Overall, Independence, we're about 40% Asian, the largest subgroup of that being Vietnamese, 32% Hispanic Latino, and 18% Filipino. The general enrollment has been declining. I'd like to thank the district for their support in marketing and trying to make sure that we are maintaining as many students as we can, even though there has been a decline throughout the area. Next one is trend over the last several years. One of the things I like about Independence, and we're one of the 5 schools in the district that has ELD level 1. So we truly do want to welcome all students as they are. And this can be a senior who just arrived in the country and is learning English, and we want to make sure that they are successful, they're welcomed, and we can help them with a plan. Then students with disabilities has been hovering about 9% the last few years. And then socioeconomically disadvantaged has been declining. We are still trying to make sure that we get students to qualify. And so just doing outreach on that. Next charts, again, does the breakdown of a little bit more of where we are currently. Just over 700 ninth graders, 700 10th graders, under that for 11th and over that for 12th. And then seeing where we are with our subgroups. But regardless of this, all of our students are Sixers. We want to make sure they are all welcome on our campus, that they have a home, they have a place, and that they know loving adults are working there. Next slide is our school mission and purpose. We like to say that independence is where students find their passion, their purpose, and their path. We want to engage our students, help them explore what it is they're looking for, figure out what it will take to get where they're going, and then send them on that path, making sure that our students are ready for college and career after high school. We pride ourselves in being an intercultural community, providing students rich opportunities for personal and academic growth while embracing diversity, belonging, and open access for all students. Thank you. So last recommendations that are a bit dense, but it's about refining our instructional program, increasing student engagement, working on critical learning needs, addressing what the students' needs are, be those socio-emotional, preparation, working on increasing our graduation rates, preparing students for life post-high school, college and career readiness. And our third major goal is about increasing student involvement for all student populations, making sure that all of our students know they have access to all of our programs, that an academy is not for one specific group of students, leadership is for all, making sure that all students know they have access to everything on our campus. So then going into our goals, our first one, college and career readiness. This is one of those things that Independence, with our various academies, we do an excellent job preparing students and exposing them. The annual goal for this year is to increase our rating with staff dashboard by 5%. Currently for college and career readiness, we're at 46.8%. I'd like to get that over 5% for next year. And then for students with disabilities, I tend to look at students with disabilities more often just because it's a cross section of all of our students. And I believe that if we're able to raise these students, I think we can raise all. I'd like to thank the district for their work around least restrictive environment and the work that we're doing going forward. And I think we're going to see a lot of benefit from this. And so with staff, it's professional development, students' career exploration, things like our interviews with professionals in the community, preparing our students, just making sure they're ready. Next off is our graduation rate. I'd like to see an increase of graduation rate over by 3% to be above 91%. And then ideally, again, I'd like to see an increase for students with disabilities by 5% to over 80%. We do an excellent job in preparing students for graduation, but it's making sure that we get students to be A through G eligible as well. So within departments, identifying its essential standards, working on common assessments. With a campus our size, it's very easy for things to be different between levels. And so it's getting our departments to collaborate, analyze student achievement, and be able to provide those immediate targeted supports for our students. And then for English learners, as I mentioned, we welcome all students, ELD levels 1 through 4. Everyone is welcomed at Independence. Currently, our increased long-term English learner redesignation by 5%. Currently, it is 6.7%, so I'd like to see that over 10% for us. And I actually have a typo in the long-term goal. That's actually the A through G rate, not the graduation rate. So our A through G rate is currently 22.8%. I'd like to see that over 32%. We're able to get students to graduate, but I want to make sure they're eligible as well. And that's figuring out, are those cyber high classes we need to offer, or what interventions we need to have available for our students. And for the staff, it's accessing and reviewing data, making sure we have equal access, making sure that all students can access AP classes, advanced classes, academies, just making sure that we have those available options for our students. And then one of the greatest things that I get to do is walk through classes and see the magic happening with the teachers. And I love being able to connect them. I love as a new teacher comes and says, hey, I'm thinking of trying this. I can say, go see Miss Alvarez, go see Miss Stover. These are the people who have this down and they will give you the supplies and the support you need to be successful. So. Next off, decreasing suspensions. So current suspension rate is 14.5 for our students with disabilities. We're working on MTSS, making sure that we have those common assurances in our classrooms, that students know they're welcome as they are, that we're able to do those interventions, and that we're able to make sure our students feel welcomed in classes, so that we're able to address things early rather than letting them escalate, because we don't want students out of school. We want to make sure they're with us, they know they're welcome, they know they belong with us. And then for the long-term goal, reduce suspension rate for all students. All students, our suspension rate is 4.6. I think we can lower that. Just through those MTSS aligned resources, identifying the obstacles and figuring out where are those power struggles or what is happening that is causing a student to be suspended. There are times a student needs to be, but if we can curb things early, build those relationships, get students on the path quickly, it helps.
Hey, quick question, Bjorn.
Yes, of course.
Is your data for suspension for 2021 or for the previous year?
So I believe it was the 2019 was the last one, because last year was
we haven't really been suspending kids,
no,
right?
No,
Yeah.
definitely not. No, not in distance learning. Yeah, you are welcome on Zoom, no problems. Yeah. So yeah, this is all based off previous to go with the goals that we have. Yeah. Similar to the next goal, which is the attendance rates. Similar to that, attendance at this point, it's all based on 2019, because last year was such an odd one and this year is, again, a strange year. So yeah, for the attendance rates, yeah, we want to be able to address what are those issues. We've been doing more home visits, definitely. We've been using the Rawway system provided by the district to be able to log all of our contacts with students, identifying when we need to do those home visits, just making sure that we know what is going on with our students and that we're able to address those, be it through our social workers, through our counselors, through our PSIS, or whatever the situations are. Yeah, so at this point, we are working on rebranding our 6 core values, trying to make sure that all students know what it means to be a 6er. We're working on common lessons for the beginning of next school year, kind of a restorative restart, and building that culture of being on campus, knowing you belong, and making sure that everyone can access what we have to offer. And does anyone have any questions for independence before I turn it over to Mr. Lansoff for Pegasus?
Sorry, go ahead, Trustee Lee.
Excuse me. I was wondering, can you explain to me what do you mean by incorporate the SLO into unit and lesson plan to our department, including in cross-curricular instruction?
Yes, so these SLOs, it's student learning outcomes. And so that's a term used by WASC as they come through. And so it is the, what do we talk about as a school that we want to make sure all our students know, that what are the outcomes when they leave independence? And so this is what we've called the Declarations of Independence through the past few years. It was the 5 C's. That was a school-wide vote several years ago. What we found, though, is that our students don't necessarily know the 5 C's. And so through student surveys earlier this year, through social science and PE classes, we were trying to put this in more student-friendly language. And so what we've come up with is the 6er, and it is spirited, imaginative, extraordinary, engaged, and respectful. So something more memorable, but we're working on school-wide lessons around what does it mean to be a 6er and be spirited in a class, to be spirited in an office, to be spirited in the lunch line, things like that. And so we're trying to get these learning outcomes incorporated into lessons within our classes in cross-curricular. So it's in math, so it's in English, so it's in science, so that all of our teachers are speaking the same language, and it lessens confusion for students if we're all speaking the same thing and just for the unification of what it is we're doing, making sure that our students are all aligned for those outcomes that we want by the time they leave us.
Awesome. You know, I have to comment for Independence that you provide very good leadership for our student governing board here, Bruce Nguyen, you know, and he's contributed a lot, you know, into our meeting, and we learn a lot from student. So that's my commendation for you. So now, Lorena Chavez, board member, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Bruce, I just have to say, one of the things that immediately stood out is throughout the presentation, you referring to our students as being welcome as they are. It is very clear that is very top of mind, top of heart, and that you're very intentional with that. And so I just want to share that noticing and how much I appreciate it. Another thing that I really appreciate is your approach to our students with special needs and how you think about it. Like, if we serve them, then we'll be doing right by all of our students. And, you know, a lot of SPED strategies, it's just good teaching, period, right? So that's like music to my ears. So thank you for that. And the last thing that I'll say for my comment before I go to my one question is, I appreciate you raising the bar when you say, I not only want our students to graduate, I want them to be A through G eligible. And for me, that is giving students power over their future, giving them options, and us honestly doing our job to set them up for that, right? There's no question about, well, this is happening or that, and well, maybe not. No, it is my job. And so that is top of mind for me, to go beyond the baseline of graduation. So thank you for that. And similarly to my question for Naomi, when you think about all this stuff, because you're doing tons of things, what would you say is the biggest opportunity, the biggest lever for you to move independence forward?
I think it's still tapping into the magic of the outstanding teachers that we have and sharing those practices and getting those connections across our campus. Because having 130 teachers, it's easy for people not to necessarily know each other or know who to turn to with those questions. And so for me, one of the things that I try and do constantly is connecting people and just making sure they know where to go, who to talk to when they have questions, and that we have the answers. Because we have new teachers constantly, and it's making sure they're paired with the veteran teachers and they've got the support that they need, and making sure that we're able to share those best practices and things don't get lost in the shuffle. Because when we're able to do that, it moves the school forward. That's, yeah.
People first. You build a community, you build a family, you got a solid foundation. I love it. Thank you,
We're in the
Bruce.
people business. Thank you.
Thank you, Bjorn. Sorry, I don't know why I
No
said
problem.
Bruce.
Happens all the
That's
time.
Bruce.
Not a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Berg. Sorry. Thanks.
Go ahead, Bruce. You'd like to say some comment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can definitely attest to everything Mr. Berg just said, being a student of Independence High School. Over the past 4 years, I have constantly seen how Independence is changing as a school, as a community. And you know, based off of all of my teachers, I can say that they've always been supportive to students. They've always, you know, gone out of their way to make sure that performance of each student is generally very, very well, given their abilities, and they'll do their best to make sure that they can provide the resources to do that as well. And one big aspect about Independence is that many of the staff listen to their students. For example, when I had a conversation with their school site MTSS, we were able to give a lot of input onto how to you know, incentivize certain student populations, how to reward different students for you know, doing well in school and outside of school as well. And those are some of the things that students can gain out of coming to this school as well. And I hope that every school can be just like Independence, no bias.
Okay, board member Brian Doe.
Thank you, Board President Lay. As a former student in Independent High School and only a few years older than Bruce now, I just, and no bias, but obviously I think Independent High School is an absolute excellent school. And I would like to attribute much of my success in life to my study in Independent High School. So, and I thank Principal Burke for showing me the campus yesterday. I enjoyed our talk and I have a chance to meet with many staff, including and see a lot of our students. I love the energies that we are slowly but surely are building so that we can have a full return in the fall. I also want to take this moment to shout out to my old history teachers, Ms. Navison. Thank you. You were great teachers, even though I was not a great student, but I did learn a great deal from you, and I don't think I would have passed that AP exam without you. So thank you very much. And thank you.
Thank you.
Did I see Member Herrera raise hand or no?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Principal Berg.
Okay.
Every campus is unique,
Mhm.
and boy, yours is certainly among the more unique. And I do remember when it was a concept way back in the day, and then it became a reality as a mega campus, an experiment of then Superintendent Frank Fiscalini, his vision. So keep on keeping on, and thank you for your work.
Thank you.
I want to ask for Principal Board, one quick question is, your school is this only school that have the teaching credential career, right?
In the East Side, yes, I believe we're the only one with the teaching academy that Ms. Narvison actually leads. Yeah.
All right. How do we have, what is the result, on this year? Do we produce some of the teacher for the East Side? Or, how does the attendance, I'm kind of like curious because we do need a lot of teachers, and we hope that with the teaching academy in your school probably will be very helpful for other people who want to join.
Yeah, I can think of off the top of my head 4 teachers as independents currently who are products of the Teaching Academy.
Wow.
I've had the honor of going out and watching them actually teach in elementary schools and seeing our students work with younger students. It's just outstanding seeing it. One of the greatest things from the Academy is that the students, not only, there are those who go into teaching, but there are those who also figure out they want to work with children and they want to do like school psychologists and other opportunities working with humanity and working with people. So they do really, really good work.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, now go ahead with Pegasus, take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So going from Foothill to Independence to Pegasus is going to feel like watching an accordion. So we're going to go from small to large, back down to small. So as kind of part of, but independent from Independence, we are also committed to the same equity mission of Eastside Union. And we are definitely a school that has always welcomed students as they are and recognizing their strengths as kind of a component just even of their induction process. From the moment they set foot on campus and meet the homeroom teachers and counselors at Pegasus, we take a special care to make sure that the first many days are really spent kind of assessing what their strengths are and acknowledging nobody ends up at a small but necessary or continuation high school without having bumps in the road and kind of detours that have made them believe that high school is not a place where they can succeed. So it really is reacclimating them to feeling like they are successful students. So we definitely try to engage them all in tasks that develop their global thinking skills, and we want them to feel equal to any other student in Eastside Union. So one of the first things we have to stress and remind them of is the diploma they get from Pegasus is equal to that which they earn from any other comprehensive high school. And we want them to see the same range of possibilities the moment they step across that graduation stage in June. So in terms of trends, we're very similar to Foothill and our other continuation high schools. Our population has varied a little bit, but over the last couple of years, we've seen an increase. So we have gone from roughly about 125 students at points. This year, we have been full for the entire year at 132 students. Right now, we're sitting at 134. So we address a need that is real and present kind of at all of our schools. The overwhelming majority of our students tend to be Hispanic. We have a mix of the entire diversity of Eastside within our community, but we definitely know where the emphasis and where the focus of our work with students lies. In terms of trends, our enrollment has usually hovered about steadily. Normally our job is recruiting, and it really is the impact of working with the Independence Counseling team, which is fantastic. I'm lucky to work with them. But we want to make sure that we advertise what Pegasus can offer to students across the entire district. Most of our students do come from Independence, but we definitely have students from James Lick, Silver Creek, Piedmont Hills, Evergreen, all over. We reflect the face of the district. And our percentages of our populations also reflect that. So the biggest trend that I've seen over the last 5 years is that the number of students who are English learners has increased. And what we have seen is that that is kind of a reflection of where we need to kind of address more effort as an entire district, but also where we tend to do really good work is with students who are English learners. 24% of our population, over 24, is English learner. The vast majority of them are long-term English learners, but we can see they end up at an SPN because they've struggled, and part of that is language proficiency and acquisition. The proudest achievement, I think, is definitely students with disabilities. I was lucky enough to follow in my role supervising Pegasus. I followed after my wife, Ginny Davis, who was at Piedmont Hills. But in 2011, we had 2 students with IEPs who were attending at Pegasus. And this year, in the last 4 or 5 years, we've averaged between 17 to 20. So what we've tried to do, I think, in welcoming students as they are, is really address the academic needs of students with disabilities, and largely in a mainstream environment. So though we still work with the Independence High School Special Education Department, and their chairperson actually does most of the case management, we really do sustain the success and progress of these students in a mainstream environment. So I don't think there's any group of 6 teachers who are better than the ones at Pegasus for making accommodations and modifications a reality in the lives of students and the success of our students. Likewise, socioeconomically disadvantaged students make up a large portion of our student population. Our homeroom teachers are always providing probably a lot more social emotional support than any other group of teachers. And I think Noemi would definitely be able to echo that for what happens at Foothill. Those teachers are kind of a mix of mainstream general education teachers as well as quasi counselors. And over 50% of our students always need extra support. Our current population reflects kind of the trends that you've seen. Right now, the overwhelming majority of our students tend to be seniors, and I think that's probably going to carry over for this next year. We would have liked to have seen more academic progress this year, but we were very grateful that as many students still attended. Their progress was definitely impeded, was definitely slowed by distance learning, but they definitely hung in there. And oftentimes one of their continuous adult supports throughout the entire year was constant contact with their homeroom teachers. Even if they didn't always pass all of their classes or make the kind of progress we would normally see from juniors or seniors during this kind of year, they stayed engaged and they stayed with it. Speaking to the success that Noemi had at Foothill, we too, in our recent cohorts as of April 19th, for 133 students, we had over 34 students volunteer to come onto campus for cohorts. So they recognize the value of what they're seeing at Pegasus, and they know connecting with it in person is so critical and vital, and they have come back. So again, this year's statistics really reflect that our students face the challenges of Eastside, but even more magnified. So we know that we have to deal with English learners and also the need to acquire academic language across the entire curriculum, and also our need to serve students with disabilities right now. So our guiding principles, our SLOs, or our mission vision, has been for the last 8 to 9 years, that Pegasus students will be self-directed, that they're in charge of their learning. They form their graduation plan in conjunction with an academic counselor, which fortunately over the last 2.5 years, we've had a dedicated counselor who spends 2 days a week on campus at Pegasus. So they create their own graduation plan wherever that leads, whether it's to community college, 4-year college plan, vocational training, or the world of work. They have a better sense of what they're going to do and they own that plan. Opportunity is learning to take advantage of all the experiences. Some of the ones that are new and I think a big trend over the last 3 years are recognizing what they can do still within the independence and comprehensive high school community, encouraging them to take part in interscholastic athletics, taking part in performing arts, still being part of school plays at whatever their home school is. And over the last 2 years, we've also, together with the other SBNs and continuation high schools, we have worked with the city of San Jose to have an intramural sports league. So students who don't necessarily feel confident playing interscholastic sports can still get extracurricular activity that involves other schools and engagement with more adults in a mentorship position. Achievement that they'll recognize its personal and academic achievement is one of many parts. That's been one of the greatest areas of progress. Not only do we have a counselor who's more available over the last 2 years, but we have a great counselor who really does embrace what is the ASCA model across the entire district, recognizing that we meet the needs of students as academic learners, as pretty much career explorers and determining what's going to match up with their interests, and also as social emotional developers, that they're becoming adults, and that's critical, even if their academic goals don't yet match what they're going to be able to do in 2 to 3 years. And respect and responsibility, that they respect themselves, their teachers, and they see a role in the community. And I think that's reflected in a large number of the credit recovery units that they do that involve community service. They've done that over the last 4 to 5 years. And the staff is kind of committed to making that kind of a preset component of graduation, is kind of interweaving credit, pretty much credit recovery with community service, so that they learn how to become engaged. So it makes it easier for them to step into the life of the community, the life of work, and also what their future might hold in a college. So recently from our WASC, they wanted more data, and what our staff committed to was getting more street level data. I think one of the great initiatives from the leadership program under Chris and Teresa over the last couple of years is redefining what data means. And so what we're going to commit to, it's going to be easier when we're in person, is cultivating more street level data and narrative data on what's working for students, what's challenging for students, what's really redefining their success when they're at Pegasus, and informing our practice above and beyond what might be limited or spotty data from grades, their previous course passage. They're at Pegasus for a reason, but it's not reasons that can't be pretty much counteracted and also reversed by success at Pegasus. Also increasing on-site social emotional counseling support for students. Our Point 4 counselor has provided a huge amount of that, and recently, thanks to Shanice Powell, we're going to have a parent community involvement specialist who's going to be on campus, who makes sure that we can support the needs of over 50% of our students who have the additional range of needs that precede them before they even walk into the classroom. Number 3, providing career and college counseling for Pegasus students and emphasizing their A through G potential. So a part of that is making sure that we engage our teachers in more collaboration with general ed teachers from across the district, from our comprehensive high schools, so that we make sure that students know that they're getting A through G curriculum that is on par with the comprehensive in math, science, social studies, and English. And increasing stakeholder engagement. And that's where PCIS and the work of our teachers is going to be critical, ensuring that we engage them with services and support, and we take care of the needs that, like I said, precede their entry onto campus and long after. So our 4 goals are really just to increase our graduation rate and also to focus on the A through G completion and graduation rate of our English learner population. So we want to increase the number, the percentage of our students with disabilities and English learners graduation rates by 10% over the next 4 years. And we want to make sure that we can begin to see that data reflected both in the California dashboard, but also where our students are landing down in the 1 to 2 years following their graduation. And a lot of that is going to be increased collaboration with our district professional development team, and also increased time interacting with our counselors and kind of mapping out how their graduation plan should be kind of synonymous with the comprehensives in leading to college and career. And our second goal, improving our graduation rate and also providing the physical, emotional, academic supports to ensure they're making appropriate yearly progress. So increasing our graduation rate over 80%, and then also our students with socioeconomic pretty much challenges to make sure that we can get their percentage over 75%. And a lot of that is making sure that our counselor is working in conjunction with our para-community involvement specialists and our teachers to make sure that we foster the kind of academic success we want to see. For English language learners, I think it is making sure that we invest the time in professional development to make sure that we're using research-backed EL strategies, because a larger percentage of our students do qualify as English language learners, and the majority of them have been long-term English language learners, but that's not always going to be the case. That we pay more attention to that during our intake interviews to kind of reframe and kind of reinforce our understanding of what additional work we need to do, both in our curriculum in the classroom and also our credit recovery curriculum that happens asynchronously and also in interventions and after-school supports. And 4, suspensions have been no problem, as Bjorn has kind of indicated, for independence. For this past year, they haven't been a problem, but even traditionally, we have had very low disciplinary issues. The issues that we have is maintaining kind of a strong relationship with the school, healthy school culture, and also positive attendance. So I think working with our community involvement specialist, that'll help a lot to increase the number of home visits and also increase our contact with families and guardians. We have great participation by students, and sometimes our parent community is just limited by availability for events on campus. So kind of leveraging the few silver linings from distance learning and making sure that we're making contact with parents where it's easiest to reach them over the next year and the next 3 years. And that is kind of goal 5, where we do kind of increase that. Before the pandemic struck, we actually were getting good support from the city of San Jose. So engaging more community partners for our opening of school, having a back to school night, being able to engage more students in extracurricular activities. And we were planning for more parent nights during the year before March 13th, 2020, but making that a focus, because the more parents know what great things are happening at Pegasus, the more they will be involved as much as they can be, so that students feel supported by all the adults in their lives, from their parents and guardians to the additional support staff at Pegasus, to counselors, to even their partners who they still keep in contact with at Independence or Overfelt or Evergreen, wherever they continue to pursue their activities as Eastside Union students. So questions?
All right, thank you, Associate Principal Paul Lansoff, for your presentation. I was wondering about the English learner, which way that you help those English learners to be able to graduate it on time, or when they belong to Pegasus, do you have extra time for them to finish their credit in order for them to graduate? I'm kind of curious about that. Could you expand a little bit more?
Yeah, I would say that of our 6 teachers, our 2 English teachers are probably the most capable. They have really, they are pretty much mavericks when it comes to designing curriculum. So I think they've increased the focus on academic language and understanding that they need to spend more time in making sure that students are getting proficiency in both their English courses, but also several of our teachers also create the credit recovery units in science and math. So they're trying to make sure that those assignments and those projects which help students reach graduation requirements kind of address what additional support they need in math and science. And also they're always revising curriculum and offering kind of updated units and I would say assignments to make sure that they're also culturally relevant. They're very timely and they address real world scenarios, whether it be in science, whether it be in math. But also they've been active, they've been proactive. I think those 2 teachers have probably contacted Teresa more than half the English department at Independence. So they're very proactive in terms of seeking extra supports. For us, it's always kind of also taking an additional long look at the data when students come in. So sometimes we have reliable data based on how they're doing in English, what their LPAC scores are, but then it's kind of translating that to what does that really look like Is it across the board? Do they face more challenges in one subject than the other? So that's an area for growth for us. And I think adding more to the intake process and making sure what adjustments might we need to make. They do actually offer a lot of flexibility within the school day. They kind of already have kind of a AM PM structure. So students who attend 4.5, 5 hours in the morning, they have tutorial and support opportunities right after the school day. So they might start at 7:40, but they invariably always have opportunities to work with one of their teachers after, or if they are a PM student, they have opportunities to come before, or even then stay after. And I think it's a matter of taking a look at our students, both pretty much to the personal level and also what the data and the narrative data tell us, which students we need to reach out to make sure that they engage that. All of our supports rely upon knowing who the students are, but also making sure that we sometimes meet them 70% of the way there and make sure that we extend the offer of additional help to students who may not innately or instinctively ask for it.
Thank you, Paul. I'm open up for any comments from the board. Brian Doe, please go ahead.
I saw Lorena hand first. If I'm happy to yield to her if you prefer.
Lorena, you want to start first? I did not see your hand. Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. I'll just start talking since you called me in, but I think it was you, Mr. Doe. But Mr. How do you pronounce your last name? I do not.
Lanzoff, don't worry, there's not a wrong way to pronounce it. Lanzoff, it's fine.
Wow, what a comprehensive presentation. I'm very impressed. Thank you so much for really bringing us into what Pegasus is, what Pegasus does, how we serve our students, and what the community is like. I feel like I could go in and already know what things are happening just by this presentation in a different way, right? So I really want to show appreciation for that. I did hear you talk about how our students with special needs go into Independence. Is that right? And the staff at Independence support students at Pegasus? Did I hear correctly? Or
yes.
how? Yeah, okay. Is there are there any other places where that is also true, or is it mainly within our special ed department?
No, I think that all SBNs can. I think the key thing is making sure what we've done is I think there's a lot more communication between the special education department and Independence. So what they all have to do is they have to go through a change of placement meeting. So we want to kind of establish, okay, what the curriculum and what the school day at Pegasus requires, and also really kind of walking through at a comprehensive pace what supports they're probably going to need to make sure that it's a match and a fit.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's amazing. I think it's great. I think it's smart. I think it's important at so many levels. So I love it. I was just curious to see if it was happening in other areas as well, or was it mainly focused on special education because that's where the opportunity is, or for whatever reason?
I think it's just what we've done a better job over the last 4 or 5 years is kind of identifying students whose academic success doesn't have to be kind of limited by the fact they're receiving services from an IEP. And I think that I think we do a good job at Independence. I think that what Pegasus offers is that smaller setting, which is still mainstream and comprehensive, because it is kind of that strange fusion where a lot of students do need that additional adult. And I think the function of the homeroom teachers at all of our SBNs, whether it be Phoenix or Apollo, and Yovi Mario has been fantastic at Apollo for many years, is the homeroom teacher is just that additional overlay of somebody who spends additional time in every day following up with students and checking to see that are they getting the support they need, and also understanding what that support looks like.
Yeah, that fusion is key, and that teacher, I've heard it being referred to as advisors in other settings. That teacher advisor, so key. My last question is similar to the other ones. As you think about Apollo, where it's at, all the goals, the metrics, so on and so forth, in order to move the students forward academically, what do you think is the biggest opportunity?
Well, I think the biggest opportunity is something that's already being addressed by Ms. Powell and Student Services. I think it's equity of the additional support that the SBNs need, which is academic counselors, because our academic counselors really are serving those three different roles: academic development, career development, and also social emotional development. Also, I think what Pegasus probably hasn't done yet to the degree some other SBNs have. I know Apollo does partnerships with some of our colleges and junior colleges for concurrent enrollment opportunities. And I think what has been a focus all year, Ms. Marquez and Ms. Powell have been really great, and Ms. Guerrero, in bringing the SBNs together for probably the first time in many, many years, and talking about what should be common assurances about what services and also partnerships we bring in. I think that's what's really going to move all of them ahead. Because as soon as, you know, for most of our students, it takes about a semester to kind of reacclimate and feel like I can be a successful student again. And then after a semester, they realize, wait a second, college isn't a foregone conclusion for me. This is what it can look like. And this is somebody from a college who can kind of explain and connect me with the course and with a future that seems like it's 6 months away rather than 3 years away. That's critical.
I love that. That's so powerful. And yes, we cannot do it alone. Partnerships are so key. So thank you. Thank you for all your work. And thank you, Ms. Marquez, Ms. Powell, Ms. Guerrero, everyone else who's been instrumental in this, because this is hard work. But it is clear that the school site feels like they have what they need to support our students in being successful. And that's important. That's key. So thank you all.
All right, Board Member Doe.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lenshoff. Thank you for the detailed presentations. If you don't mind, can you scroll back to your goal number 2? I have a quick question on that, please. Yes, under the long-term goal, the range between 5 and over 75 is quite large. Can you elaborate a little to have better understanding?
Increased by 5% to making sure it's over 75%.
I see. Got
Don't
it.
worry. No, that's not the floor.
Yes.
That's all right.
Thank you.
We're going to do a better job of creating that narrative. Sorry about that.
No worry. That's what I speculate, but I just want a clarification to make sure I understand it correctly.
I'm happy to clarify.
Thank you. And on a personal note, I used to spend a great deal of time what is now Pegasus. There used to be Educational Park Library. So I just spent hours just after class there until my father can come pick us up when we used to live really far away. So thank you very much for the presentations.
And that's the best part of it almost too, is because Pegasus over the last 5 years went from being the back of food service in L to being in portables in near the Repro Center to finally being in their own standalone facility. So I think that helps the students and the teachers take a lot more pride. And that was really the district which came through and gave them the kind of facility that, you know, sometimes the building helps. You know, Pegasus, having gone through that, they were always a stronger idea than just a physical place, but now having a nice physical place makes everything else a heck of a lot easier.
Does Pegasus able to leverage some of the resource that independent have, such as the social workers and the office that independent has?
Absolutely, we do. So it's not unusual at all. So our social worker at Independence is fantastic, Leah Cohen, and she and her interns, yeah, we rely on them definitely for services. They don't cover everything, but they've been instrumental. So there's always been a really close partnership, together with support from the APA and the student advisors and Independence. That's always been a close relationship.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You bet.
I can testify, I think when I went to visit Pegasus, and students always complain that the classroom did not have the window. And they always complain that, you know, they were suffocated. You know, I think I'm probably going to have to come back and visit Pegasus with the new image. And I still had, I think one of the t-shirt from Pegasus. So I received that from one of the teachers when I went to visit Pegasus a couple of years ago. So appreciate all of the staff and teachers that really support Pegasus and also Independence. All right, any other board member has any question? If not, then we move to Andrew Hill, Falcons. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Principal Wood.
Good evening. Good evening. We get to talk a little bit about Andrew Hill, so I'll go through this. Next slide, please. As we're building. our mission, I'm not to tell you, you made this and we've been working together, right? We're building equitable communities. We are making sure we welcome all students as they are. We make sure we know the strengths and areas of growth and that we support them. So kind of moving away from a deficit model that our system has been based on. We want to make sure that adults positively respond to all areas of need. And more than anything, we want to make sure we engage students with the task to be able to be part of and full participation in our society. So we are striving to do that at Andrew Hill. We're striving to do that as a district. And I love the fact that we work together. Next slide, please. For Andrew Hill, our enrollment has dropped a bit over the last couple of years. We still maintain about 55% Latinx, Latino, and 35 to 37% Asian, primarily Vietnamese. Like Principal Berg mentioned before, Andrew Hill is also an ELD site. We are actually the largest ELD site for Eastside, where we have over 200 students that have just recently arrived into our community. Next slide, please. We keep throwing acronyms because that's what we do best, right? So WASC is the Western Association. This is basically the group that gives us our accreditation. It is run from an outside organization. It tells us kind of what we need to work on to improve as a school. The 3 goals we had last time we had our visit in 2018 were to basically promote academic achievement, to increase inter and intra-departmental collaboration, and to create wraparound services to really meet each student as they are as an individual. So these 3 things you should see connected to our LCAP goal and connected to our SIPSA. Next slide, please. LCAP goal 1 is college and career readiness. Our goal is to increase on the dashboard by 3% where we were. This last year I presented, we actually were in the green category. So I was really proud of our dashboard work, and it's still work that we're working with. Our long-term goal is something we're working at Andrew Hill, which is really, why do we teach what we teach? And I mean that because currently we have about 55% of our students that will have 1 or more Ds or Fs. That's over half of our population. So it really becomes a reflective piece for us as a staff. So the goal you'll see here is for us to reduce that by 3% each year. This is not because of COVID. It was actually 62% in 17-18 school year. So it's actually gone down, but it is still that question. And you'll see that our goals, right? We've invested a lot in IB, and we have started the middle years program. So our goal is to make sure that we create common expectations in 9th and 10th grade that focus skill development and that really focus those transformational skills that you need not only to graduate, get into college, but to get that diploma and to be successful in work. So we're doing that through common unit lessons. We have medical magnet, one of the oldest pathways in Eastside. So we've been developing and getting those cross-curricular opportunities along with our legal practices and social justice and multimedia. The other thing is to make sure we continue to ensure that all students get 1 diploma level class before they graduate. So last time I presented to the board, I think we're at about 72%. So our goal is to make sure we keep going. Next slide, please. For graduation rates, we want to increase by 3%. Specifically, we need to increase our Hispanic, Latinx, and our students with disabilities. They were both in the yellow, in the middle group, as I'm trying to remember our colors, for the dashboard. So we were out of the lower levels. Again, our target is going to be using our Ds and Fs data that we get from our early warning system. Here, we're really focusing on our approaches to learning, the skills, 5 skills: communication, self-management, social, thinking, and research, all part of IB. We're also going to provide those opportunities for recovery and really to use data from those early warning systems. We want to look at every marking period as we get to the semester and then compare that going forward. Next slide, please. Goal 3, English language learners, really to get more of them reclassified, redesignated. The struggle here is not what we would normally think of the students that just arrived. Our struggle is actually our long-term English learners, and that's our struggle as a state. Our long-term English learners, most of them US born, are the ones who really show limited progress going up once you get to high school. So we're really targeting our Ds and Fs rates with just our EL population is higher. It's at 64%. So we want to lower that. We're targeting approaches where we're going to focus on our short-term English learners. We're a large ELD site, creating just that core community with shelter classes and ELD classes. We also want to provide and focus on academic language development in all of our mainstream classes where our long-term ELs are, and going through and providing one-on-one coaching for staff and just really focusing on those things that we can do together. Next slide, please. Goal 4, decrease in suspensions. We want to, this is based on the 2018-19 school year. So luckily, Board Member Cortese, we have not suspended anyone this year. And last year, we don't count it because it was just about half a year there. The focus here for suspensions, when I looked at the data, is we're really suspending students for drug abuse or being under the influence or for fighting, right? So the area I'm really going to focus on, or we're focusing on, is physical altercations. So being able to use peer mediation and being able to use restorative practices to really kind of get ahead of that. We were averaging about 10 students fighting a month, right? We want to get that number down. And again, all of this through our MTSS work. We have our Falcon Way. I wasn't going to end the presentation without saying our 3 A's, right? And so developing those school-wide expectations and having that. We've been having school-wide lessons for a couple of years now. This will be our 4th year, I believe. Next slide, please. Chronic absenteeism. I wish I could figure this one out. So for chronic absenteeism, we continue to work. We'd like to get our goal of attendance to 94.5%. That did go down this year, right? We'd like to increase and or decrease the number of chronic absentee students. Here, we're really kind of focusing on our MTSS Tier 1 expectations as we really try to welcome students. This is the exciting part for me because we were one of 2 sites in Eastside that were given a wellness center grant provided by the county. So we will actually be housing a wellness center at Andrew Hill to provide some additional supports. So we're looking at just providing, right, SEL supports, activities, using assets, using everything we have. Next slide, please. I'm done. Questions?
Open up for other board member comments, but I really impressed about your presentation, Mr. Hernandez. One of my grandniece will be graduated in 2022, and I hope that I could attend that graduation because that's really mean a lot to me. And her parents is the first generation could not make it to college, so that's really something that I look forward. But I really impressed about how's your teachers, staff, and work together and really support our student at Andrew Hill. And I know that a lot of people really still talk about Andrew Hill with the IB program, right? And that is the highlight of Andrew Hill. I heard my friends also, they have to sell their house in order to move to Andrew Hill area in order for that daughter and their son to attend Andrew Hill for the IB program. So it's a very valuable in terms of that. So maybe next time we're gonna look into the result of the IB program. I know that you have been provide a lot of information, but I know that I talked to my grandniece and she also attend the IB program. But it's wondering that not every student is successful, to attend the IB program and stay in the IB program. But overall, that she's really happy about, Andrew Hill. And I did not hear any more complaining, anything else, with Andrew Hill. So congratulations.
And I will invite you tonight. So you are invited to graduation of 2022.
I'm looking forward to that. Okay, now Board Member Lorena Chavez, go ahead.
Thank you, Board Member Lee.
Mr. Hernandez, it's clear you're doing a lot of great work at Andrew Hill. So thank you. Thank you for that. I don't think you mentioned the Falcon Way right now. You said, I can't forget the 3 A's. Y luego I was like, ¿qué pasó? I didn't hear it.
Well, the 3 A's, right? So we have attendance, you matter, academics, learning matters, and attitude actions matter. So of course, I have to balance it.
There we go. Got to put in the plug for Andrew Hill. Got to put in the plug. I love it. I love it. Quick question on the diploma. I think it's called diploma learning class. What is that? I think that's what the,
we do not offer advanced placement AP classes, right, in 11th and 12th grade. So we offer diploma program classes, IB diploma. So I really want us to get used to kind of shifting our knowledge and not think of IB as only those classes, right? Because we're doing it from 9th grade. So sorry, my lingo.
No. All good. All good. I thought that was it. I just didn't want to assume. Okay.
And
That's
actually
helpful.
on that, Board Member Charles, before you asked me, right? And given the resolution we passed earlier tonight, we should know that Andrew Hill was the first IB school in North America to create and run the Vietnamese language course, the language A class. So we were the first.
Yes.
And I know Mr. Dame was very, very involved in that. So sorry, I had to plug that in because that was our connection.
Keep on plugging away. That's what this is about, right? We got to learn about all the great things about Andrew Hill and everything that it offers. So this is perfect. And you probably know what my last question is. Where is the biggest opportunity, Jose, especially when you think about taking students to the next level in terms of academic learning across the board?
Really, it's for us as a staff to give up the fear of trying something new, right? So really to sit down and think about why do we teach what we teach, why in that order, and just really look at what our need is in front of us. So we're working on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Whatever you need, Mr. Hernandez, we're here.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Board Member Chavez. How about Board Member Herrera? You raise your hand.
Yes, Senor Hernandez, as I was listening to your presentation, a great presentation, I realized that I'd never heard you speak before. And I said, he is well-spoken. I like his speaking style, you know. And that's when I realized, even though you've been a principal for several years now, that I've never actually heard you, you know, present. At least I'm not recalling, because your voice is very, very strong, very unique. And I appreciate the work that you're doing at Andrew Hill. It really takes a unique leader to meet the culture at Andrew Hill, to work with the staff and the students and the parents. And the grapevine has always been very kind to you. It's like right from the start, how you were able to step in and be a servant leader. Muchas gracias. Thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you. And I do thank all of you for the direction and the guidance you've given us, the support. So, right, Teresa, Mr. Fong, Mr. Vanderzee, Ms. Marquez, sorry, I called the rest of them by their that. But that's what we have. So thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot for the presentation. We just shout out to all principal and our staff teacher that have contributed to our student success. So let's move on to 9.0. 9.0 public hearing. I don't think we have any item on calendar, so we move to 10. Item 10 is public member who wish to address the board. 10.01, members of public may address the board on any subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act Government Code Section 54954.2a and 54954.3 preclude any action. As an unagendized item, no response is required from the board of the district staff and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. Any person may address the board on any item on the meeting agenda. Person wishing to address the board must fill out a speaker request from via online submission. Your comments will be read out loud as part of the public meeting. Comments should be limited to no more than 1,000 characters in length. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Madam President, there are no hands raised.
Okay,
Madam President, there is no written public comment.
all right, thank you, Mr. Vanderzee and Mr. Fung. So let's move to 11.01. Discussion and action for the Board of Trustees creates a task force to develop tools of enhanced communication and collaboration among staff to develop a framework for creating a future supporting Eastside Union High School District student. Board Member Patty Cortese and Brian Doe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is the wording on this agenda item is just a tiny bit off, but I can explain. This is something that we talked about in our board retreat about creating a task force to look at how can we develop some curriculum out of the work that we learned in our experience last fall, and for Board Member Lay and Doe, you experienced it in January and February, I believe. How can we bring those tools to students so that they can apply them in creating their own future? And so with looking to create a task force, there's a whole wealth of knowledge in our community from a lot of the people that helped us raise the money for this work also have a lot to contribute to how it could look. Board Member Doe and I already met with Superintendent Marquez, Associate Superintendent Marquez, who had some great ideas about how we might go about creating some kind of a pilot, perhaps. And you know, so she's really going to take the lead on this, but Brian, Board Member Doe, and I can help by bringing in the community expertise who can share maybe like in a focus group type of style ideas for how we might bring this about. So we just it's something we talked about in our board retreat, but we can't. We need to agendize this to take action on it.
So we need to take action on this item, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'll go ahead and move to approve.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please, Mary.
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Nguyen, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Board Member Patty Cortese and Board Member Brian Doe to create a task force and work together with staff for this item. So let's move to 12.01. Presentation, discussion, and action regarding mental health and wellness. Wellness Center partnerships at Oak Grove High School. Dr. Janice Powell, Director of Student Services, Teresa Marquez, Associate Superintendent of Educational Service, Julio Lucas, Senior Manager of the Bond Program, and Martha Brazil, Principal, Oak Grove High School. Please take it away.
Thank you, Board President Lay. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to my Director of Student Services, Dr. Shanice Pao, who will speak to you about a wonderful opportunity that has been presented and how we're partnering with our facilities department to really be able to bring to our campuses a full mental health and wellness program. Dr. Pao.
Absolutely. Good evening, board members. Today, I'm really excited to share with you about some of the work. Actually, you heard Mr. Hernandez earlier talk about the grant that we wrote for wellness centers on some of our sites. As you know, Andrew Hill is one of those, as he shared, but the other one is Oak Grove High School. And so we want to share with you a little bit about that today, as well as a second opportunity to develop a healthy development clinic, which would actually be a clinic that is open to the community at large. And so as we talk about this work, it's always important for us to think about our commitment to building capacity among our staff members to ensure equity and inclusion are principles of our school system. And we do that so that all students are welcome, that their strengths and growths are known and supported. to ensure that our adults are positively responding so that all of our students can engage with tasks in order to have full participation. And as we've been engaging in the work throughout this year, and we continue to have this discussion about responding as a school system, we really are looking at that through three primary areas: policy, access, and practice. And so today, what we're really going to be focusing on is access, and how do we remove barriers and ensure students have opportunities and access, and particularly in the area of mental health and wellness tonight. Next slide. And so as we think about responding as a system, the work that we've really been doing is engaging in the multi-tiered system of supports framework, where we're really looking at the whole child, bringing together the behavior, the social, emotional, and the academics. And today we're really going to look at the partnerships that we can put into place to help us do that. Next slide. And so the last time I got an opportunity to connect with the board, I just dropped one of my favorite quotes, and that is that partnerships are not hard work, but they're hard work. They're not more work, but the work, not harder work, but smarter work to mobilize all available resources that will contribute to student success. And I felt that it's so important to just bring us back to this. Like, we're not just talking about this thing, but we're committed as a Department of Student Services to building relationships and building partners with our community in order to ensure that our students have access. And when we talk about this now more than ever, this is so important as we return from a pandemic where we know that the social emotional needs and the mental health needs of our students are real, and the impact of trauma is real. Next slide. And so as we think about student services and the system of supports, we have a coordinated system of supports that really includes 4 primary areas: family engagement, mental health and wellness, behavior and attendance response for students, and physical safety and security. And so we're doing work in all 4 of these areas to ensure that the social emotional needs, as well as the behavioral needs and supports, are in place for our students. And today we're going to focus on, in the area of family engagement and support, connections to community resources and partners, and in the area of mental health and wellness, what it means to have wellness centers on our campus. And so this year we've been able to apply for a grant that is in collaboration with our district, 2 school sites specifically, Oak Grove and Andrewville, as well as the partnership is a grant that is funded through the Santa Clara County Behavioral Health and the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And I'm so excited that they were awarded this grant. The vision and the purpose of it is improve the accessibility. So again, going back to access of mental health, prevention, and early intervention on our school sites. Next slide. And so what is this wellness center? This wellness center that we have an opportunity to build on the Oak Grove campus is one that is aligned with our work of MTSS. The core focuses are going to be looking at how do we provide school-wide prevention efforts, including social emotional learning. How do we provide early interventions, including places for students to de-escalate and decompress and learn coping strategies. So what does it look like during my school day where maybe I'm triggered, maybe there's something going on at home? How do I have a space to go and do mindfulness, to do journaling, and have other opportunities as a prevention and early intervention on my school site? In addition to that, it will provide increased access to student support groups and individual therapy for students, as well as be a center that is student-led and student-driven. When we talk about social, emotional, and mental health, we know that our messaging is important and our approach is important because of the various needs and the communities and backgrounds that our students come from. How we talk about this conversation in mental health is not the same. And so we need our centers to be developed and led by our students, and the conversation around mental health and awareness to be driven by what's happening for our young people. And then the last component of the Wellness Center will be coordinated and linking services for students and families that not only include mental health services, but physical health services. So dental screenings, physicals, partnering with organizations like the Art for Yoga, bringing in some of those pro-social mindfulness-based activities into the Wellness Center as well. Next slide. And so, like I said, the partnership really brings together three groups. The first one is the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and their role in the partnership is through this grant, we are actually going to be hiring a wellness center specialist and additional staffing if needed that would be funded by the Santa Clara County Office of Education. The second partner group is the County Behavioral Health, and they will be working with us to bring in other agencies, Alum Rock, Bill Wilson, Bay Area Community Health into this comprehensive wellness center so that we're able to meet the emotional, physical, mental health needs, spiritual needs of our young people. And then the last group is us as a district, and our kind of obligation for the partnership is that we provide a space and facility that will allow for the work to take place. And that's really what we're going to be talking to you about a little bit later on in the presentation, as well as the work of ensuring that there's a full integration of the Wellness Center specialist into the culture and climate of the school as a whole, so that it's not this thing that's sitting on the outside, but is really integrated into the school campus for our students. Next slide. And so I wanted to share just a little bit of the timeline so you can see kind of the work that has been put into this so far. We just found out last week that, again, both Andrew Hill and Oak Grove were actually not only finalists, but they were finalized. And so we are really on a turnaround time with the county where we're looking to hire the wellness specialist in June so that these pilots are ready to be launched at the start of next school year, which is so important as we are returning from the pandemic. We want to be up and ready. Next slide. The second partnership that we wanted to talk to you about is actually called the HD Clinic, or the Healthy Development Clinic, which will also be housed on Oak Grove's campus. The Healthy Development Clinic is a partnership with San Jose State's College of Education. And this clinic is different than the Wellness Center in that the Wellness Center is intended to provide supports for Oak Grove students, while the Healthy Development Clinic can actually provide supports for community members and students. Next slide. So who is the clinic for? It's for the East Side community. And when I say community, I mean past Oak Grove and the community at large. It'll be housed on Oak Grove's campus and open from Monday to Fridays from 2 to 6 p.m. And as a part of this work, San Jose State will actually be providing 2 to 20 staff members to actually run this clinic. We'll have multiple languages, including English, Spanish, Vietnamese, and Hindi. And the opening day is really pending building renovations. And that is where our ask of you is going to be tonight, is to help support us in this work by approving our work to renovate some of the buildings on Oak Grove's campus. Next slide. So as we think about this partnership, the work or the obligations of San Jose State University will be, they will actually be hiring and funding the Healthy Development Clinic director. They'll also be providing 2 to 20 staff members in the areas of speech and language pathology, clinical psychology, and child and adolescent development. In addition to that, one of the agreements that was made and that they did was we actually submitted a funding request to Representative Zoe Lofgren through the community project. And what we've asked for is that through that, if we're approved, then the funding that we would get, we would actually use to reimburse the facilities renovations expenses that we're actually going to be asking for you to approve tonight. And then the second component of the funding would go to funding their director and their staff in the Healthy Development Clinic. Next slide. Our role in the partnership is to provide the facilities and provide ongoing collaboration and ensuring that the Student Services Department's continue evaluation of the program to ensure that it continues to be aligned with the work and the mission of our district. And then finally, and this is the big one, it would require us to renovate Building P, Building H2, and Building H1 on the campus of Oak Grove to ensure that we have facilities that are designed for this wellness work. And so with that, this is where our partnership with our facilities department comes into play. And so I'm going to turn it over to Julio Lucas to share with you their part in this partnership.
Hi, Julio Lucas, Senior Manager of the Bond Program. Next slide, please, Chris. So the intent of the next set of slides is to share how this will layer into the campus. And for orientation, Blossom Hill Road is on the left side, Eagles Lane is on the top. Oh, that's Oak Grove at large, and the buildings we've been talking about are H1, H2, and P. And again, as Sean said, it's trying to fit it within the total context of the campus, rather than a program that's remote and distant, not to the side of how the campus operates. Let's go to the next slide. So these are early thoughts on how Building P will be reprogrammed and used. As you can see, there's administrative spaces, some group counseling spaces, and then some of the spaces Sean was speaking to, the journaling, the yoga, and other things I'm learning as I'm going through this, and I'm really enjoying the planning process. So this is Building P. If we could go to the next slide, Chris. And also early ideas on how H2 will be used. H2, again, part of that program where we're collaborating with San Jose State. Let's go to H1, if we could, please. The next slide. And individual counseling rooms, or rooms that have a one-on-one kind of sharing. John, if there's anything programmatically you'd like to speak about, just let me know, and I'll pause for a minute. But let's go to the next slide. So what we're asking for today, it is recommended the Board of Trustees approve administration's recommendation to initiate the Oak Grove Buildings H and P conversion to Wellness Center project with an associated proposed project budget not to exceed 1.2 million.
Move for approval.
Second.
Oh.
Okay, Board Member Patty Cotizzi.
Thank you. This is really exciting. So I have a couple of questions. So the wellness specialist is going to be funded by the county office, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long is that funding commitment?
Yeah, so for the initial commitment is for 1 year, but if you look at the timeline, there'll actually be an extension application that we can submit at the end of the first year to extend that partnership.
So how long, and is that the only staff person that's being hired for the wellness center?
So according to the grant, that's the guaranteed hire, but the way the grant is written is that because it's co-constructed, the development of it is co-constructed with the district. Part of phase 1 is that we actually do a comprehensive needs assessment. And so through that process, if it's determined that additional staff is needed, then they have the space within the grant to actually hire additional staff as well.
And how far out does that grant provision go?
So the initial agreement is for 1 year, but the duration of extensions could push it out to 3 years. But you have to reapply at the end of each year for the extension.
So three is the top end. 3
Correct.
years. Okay, great. And then with the San Jose State, the community wellness, they're providing the staff for that. Is that right?
Yes, they are. They're providing the staff for that. The speech and language pathologist, child psychologist, and child and adolescent development will actually be students in their graduate program, completing and finishing their internship hours. So those will be a lot of the staff, and then the director will actually be like licensed staff that is there full time.
Okay, so this is like an extension of their teaching programs?
Correct.
This is like a residency or something for them, or so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So it looked like if you, I don't know if you could pull the slide up again, but there was something about that funding seemed somewhat limited in duration too, or that maybe that you could support the funding. I keep going, Chris. I think it's
for the Healthy Development Clinic.
One more. I think one more. Okay, yeah, next one. Okay, sorry, next one. Yeah, this one. Okay, so hiring the clinic director, San Jose State will do that and pay for it. And then, so is that, and then you said number 3 here, submit funding request to the Lofgren. So that's a funding request, meaning you might get it, you might not get it, right? So how long is San Jose State guaranteeing the funding for the clinical director? And how much funding could we hope to get through Congressmember Lofgren's office?
Yeah, so 2 components to that. So the request that we submitted to Representative Lofgren's office is for at least half of the facilities renovation. So we've asked that they would reimburse us for at least half of it, and that they would also pay for the director and the staff. Now the staff are primarily the students coming from their program, so they need those hours anyway, but they wrote into their proposal that they would actually pay those students for those hours. But we felt like because they're going to be providing 2 to 20 people, that really is a trade-off in the long run when we look at long-termness of this program, because it is connected to the college. This will be consistent on our school site and open for the community for an extensive period of time. So even though we're funding the front end and we may or may not get a full reimbursement, by them providing those 2 to 20 staff members to provide those services, when we look at the cost of what that would have cost us, we feel that that is still very impactful and a good decision on our end.
Sure. So these renovations initially will be funded by our bond program, right?
Yes.
And that, so I guess I'm still not, so you're asking for this outside funding for the staff, but how long is San Jose State's guarantee for the clinical director?
So there's 2 parts of what they're doing. There's this initial part, and the reason we bought it before the board tonight is because in order for us to put the Oak Grove Wellness Center on the campus, there's displacement that's happening in those 3 buildings in order to build the wellness center for our own social worker. And so if we would have waited for the finalization of the funding from Representative Lofgren's office, as well as they have a team of other philanthropists and whatnot that San Jose State is working with too, to provide the longer term funding. We didn't want to take the risk of waiting and not developing the wellness center for our Oak Grove, because that agreement has already been approved. And so in terms of San Jose State, it would be an ongoing partnership. We're not sure exactly of the long-term funding stream of it, because they're looking into working with their philanthropists and their financial team to look at like the long-term plan for it. So what we've planned for is the next 1 to 3 year, and the proposals that we've made have been for the first 1 to 3 years.
So I have 2 more questions. One is what the current buildings, you sort of touched on it just now, the current buildings what are they being used for?
So the P building was the old JROTC building. So it's actually empty. It's not in use right now. The H1 building is currently where the social worker is located, but it doesn't meet the needs to provide a comprehensive wellness center where we could do mental health, physical health services, et cetera. And the H2 building is where they have their special services staff.
Okay. And then, so will some of those services be just come back in the building, just reconfigured? Is that the idea?
Yes, yes. So H1 would become the special services staff building. The social worker who's in H1 would move to the P building, which would be the wellness center. And then H2 would be the healthy development clinic for San Jose State.
Okay.
And-
And then Oak Grove, do they not? Oh, go ahead, Chris, you're going to add something to this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just going to add, Trustee Chavez, Cortese, we're going to bring back a memorandum of understanding with San Jose State University at a future date. But the goal was to just give you an overview because there were 3 different moving parts and we needed to take care of our own wellness center first in order to get it done in time to open up the school year. And so the only action you're taking tonight is really to approve the renovation of Building P into the new wellness center.
Oh, not H1 and H2?
So the renovations, yes, but not the actual programs that are coming in. I'm sorry. It's all the renovation, but not the actual programs that are coming in.
Yeah. Okay, I get it. I guess my only concern is that I want to make sure that if we're investing in these renovations, that these are programs that are that, you know, because we're already having budget challenges, that the funding for them is secure.
So in terms of our Oak Grove Wellness Center, our currently existing mental health and wellness staff, including our social worker and our internship program that we have in partnership with San Jose State. Each year we bring in multiple interns to provide services. They will continue to operate the wellness center even post the county behavioral health grant.
Got it.
And they will continue to provide those holistic services. We need that space in order to expand those services either way.
Great. And then does Andrew Hill need renovations too? Looks like we're just voting on Oak Grove tonight.
Yes, that is true. Andrew Hill is actually already going under construction via the bond. And so through that process, they will already have space for their wellness center. They're actually doing some relocation on their campus as well. And so they will have a space on campus in order to house it.
Yeah, if you recall, Andrew Hill is building their own student union that will be able to house their wellness center.
I see. And is the goal this is a pilot, so the goal is to have a wellness center on all of our campuses? Is that where the long game here?
Well, we have a wellness center on every campus, but they're not equal. And the goal is to really expand and have a standardized wellness center at each site. So it really becomes a hub for that school.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's a lot of good question, Board Member Cortese. And I will have one quick question for this is a really very good and interesting program. But I was wondering that do we open for community or just only for our student?
So the Oak Grove Wellness Center will be for students, but the Healthy Development Clinic in partnership with San Jose State would be open to the community.
Awesome. All right. And my last question for Julio Lucas, that the 1.2 million, the budget to renovate it, this is the discretion board budget, or this is a separate budget will allow for this renovation?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I was going to ask you, Julio, I overmissed this when I was reviewing the agenda. There's no funding source in the memo.
Okay.
Interesting. I believe it was at one time in the 15s, but the intent is for this to be from the Measure Z, the grouping we have called Alternative Ed, which covers programs like this, the two adult eds, the charter schools of 3 SBNs, and that's where it would come from, the alt ed of Measure Z. It is no longer in the 15s, I take it.
It may be, but I'm just saying
Okay.
it's missing from this memo where the actual action's taking place.
Got it.
I see Trustee Doe, your hand's up.
Yes, I had a bunch of questions which Trustee Cortese have asked. So I only have one last one. I've noticed on one of the on the previous presentations, Congressman Lofgren, is that specifically to the office of Congressman Lofgren?
Are you asking us to approve the timeline?
I am asking for the approval of the timeline. Thomas, it was an earlier
We can
version.
hear someone else in the background. I don't know if other people here. Okay, great. Sorry. Go ahead, Brian. There was other stuff in the background. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I don't know where that come from, but my question is the request for the additional funding specifically to the office of Congressman Lofgren, or is that all the congressmen can also potentially be helpful?
So the community programs was open for a lot of the representatives to submit their proposals. The proposal that we specifically submitted was to Representative Lofgren, that San Jose State submitted, and that has already been done and signed off on. So now we're just waiting to find out if that will be approved. And Superintendent Funk can speak a little bit more to that as he actually wrote a letter of support in alignment with that.
Sorry, I was on mute. My understanding through San Jose State that this is direct funding, Trustee Doe, through Zoe Lofgren's office.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other board member comments or question? If not, then,
I just have
to say something. Okay, go ahead, Lorena.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I just want to thank staff for working on this and being proactive, not only for the services, but like the image, right? The environment, the space, that matters. That has an impact. And, you know, this pandemic, my God, has caused so much more trauma in our communities than what we were already carrying. So I'm feeling really grateful that we have more resources for our students once they come back, because we got to think about doubling down, tripling down, if that's a phrase. So I see the timeline. Get ready to go by August and start programming, and you know, these partnerships just so key. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to make sure I didn't miss a hand that was up. Paula Escobar, did you have your hand up for this agenda item? I hope I didn't miss you from an earlier one.
Good evening, board. I did have a comment for this item. I just wanted to thank the district for taking student input, specifically from the student governing board, in order to create access to these mental health resources and kind of expanding what was already existing. I think that this sets precedent for what else the district can do in terms of supporting our students, especially during like recovery from COVID. In addition to this, I believe it sets precedent for other reforms in our district, particularly surrounding restorative justice measures and also just promoting student wellness and understanding. I think with this, we can also expand these types of services across all school sites, and this definitely serves as a starting point for more change and, again, just what more expansion and dedication towards student wellness. So thank you.
Thank you. For the comment.
Stephen, your hand is up. You may unmute.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen. I'm a junior at Evergreen Valley. I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that Paula just said. Student mental health has always been important, but now more than ever, it's even more important since COVID has really worsened the mental health situation for many students across the district. And I also wanted to thank the board for listening to students and taking the voice of Student Governing Board into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the hands that are raised, Madam President.
Yes. I also echo board member Lorena Chavez that thank you, staff and has been supporting for this program. And I have one question is, so next time with the Andrew Hill item, are we going to bring back to the board to have action regarding Andrew Hill? Because this is the item only for Oak Grove, correct?
Yes, so this item is to approve the funding for the renovation building work. We will be bringing back the MOUs for the centers for all three, Andrew Hill, Oak Grove, and San Jose State. Well, ideally at the next board meeting, they're currently circulating for signatures right now.
Awesome. And I hope that other site probably will have a similar program to support our student. So let's move on to item 13.
We need a vote.
We need a vote?
Oh, yeah, we need a vote. Oh, I think it's well, Vice President already moved and I second. Let's do the roll call, please, Mary.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Nguyen, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay.
Aye.
Vice President Herrera.
Aye.
Clerk Chavez.
Aye.
Member Cortese.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Awesome. All right. So let's move to 13.01. Presentation and our discussion regarding the Child Nutrition Service Program. Mr. Chris Chu, Associate Superintendent of Business Services, and Julie Kasberger, Director of General Services.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Tonight, you will get an opportunity to hear about our amazing Child Nutrition Services Program. So tonight, I'd like to introduce Julie Kasberger, our Director of General Services, to present.
Good evening, board and administration and Eastside community. My name is Julie Kasberger and I'm the Director of General Services, and I'm going to be sharing some information with you tonight about the Child Nutrition Program. And I'm just going to go over some general information as well as menu and how we develop menus, participation, some did you knows, what our future looks like, and then questions you can ask at any time. I want to give you a little trivia at the very beginning here, and that is in 1946, it was realized that young men were going abroad to fight for our country and they were malnourished. And so Harry Truman said that that wasn't okay. And so that's when he enacted the National School Lunch Program. And so that was so that all students that were going to school had access to a healthy meal every single day that they went to school. And so that's where the program came from. So I think the first thing I want to do is a huge shout out to the Child Nutrition Services folks. And so Chris, if you could advance one, please. A huge shout out to the Child Nutrition folks. My folks have been out there feeding the community since March the 16th. And so they've been doing it with a smile on their face, without complaints. At the beginning, it was kind of scary because we really didn't know what this was all about. And I just really want to thank them because they have done an incredible job. And to date, from March 16th to yesterday, we have done 1.2 million meals to the Eastside community. And so I just want to thank them, as well as I want to thank the site administrators and the custodians and the warehouse staff. And I mean, even Superintendent's Council was out there supporting. And Julio Pardo, he volunteered his time for the first 4 months. And so there are just so many people that we need to thank for this to have been as successful as it is and is going to be. And so for all of those that I've forgotten, I'm sorry. This has really been a group effort for us to be able to feed our community. And so general program information. Pre-COVID, we did just about anything. We did breakfast, lunch, supper, a la carte, catering, after school, summer feeding, Saturday school, vended meals, vending machines. And so we did a lot of different things on campuses, not only our campuses, but we also worked with charter schools and County Office of Education. And what happened on March 16th, that all stopped. And so we went to what's called the Summer Seamless Program. And so what the Summer Seamless Program is it is a program offered and with waivers that the USDA worked very hard to assist us with. The Summer Seamless program makes it available so that we can provide a free meal to anyone 18 and younger. It doesn't matter if the child is an East Side student. It doesn't matter how old they are, as long as they're 18 and younger. It doesn't matter where they live. It doesn't matter if they're rich. It doesn't matter if they're poor. It doesn't matter if they have an ID or not. We feed anybody who's 18 and younger. And so we are doing it in a drive-through capacity so that families are able to come through, and it's typically a parent or a guardian can come through and pick up meals for any student or person 18 years and younger. The future or post-COVID, that remains to be seen. The really neat thing that has happened in the past 10 days is USDA has extended the Summer Seamless program through June of 2022. So what that means is even when our kids come back on campus, we will still be able to give free meals to anyone 18 and younger. And so that takes the confusion of IDs and points of service and all of that out of our program that is very confusing, the pre-COVID. And so it takes that out of it. And so we're very excited that we're going to be able to do Summer Seamless through September of 2022. I think the rest of it, I think we just need to be very flexible because I'm not sure any of us really know the future, what's going to happen tomorrow. And so we need to be flexible and wait for what happens. So general information about the program pre-COVID. And so the district as a whole is about little over 46% free and reduced. And so don't confuse that with the unduplicated account because unduplicated includes other things, but this is free and reduced meal applications. We serve pre-COVID, we were serving about a little over 2,700 breakfasts, a little over 4,600 lunches, and just under 900 suppers per day. Here is some breakfast and lunch trends. And as you can see over the past 4 years, it looks scary because the trend is going down. And so there are reasons for those trends. And some of those have to do with enrollment. And as you heard earlier in the presentations from the principals, they all indicated that enrollment is going down. And that in fact does affect our program, as well as the economy. When our economy is strong, our participation goes down, because the kids don't need the meal or don't want the meal as much as they do when the economy is less strong. We also have nutrient requirements, and in 2018-19, you'll see in the next slide where a la carte was really affected by some new regulations that came through as far as sodium and fat and saturated fat and fat. And so you'll see that those numbers went down. Our lunch participation hasn't been quite as crazy as breakfast and a la carte, but it's sneaking down. And so it's something that we really need to pay attention to. So now as far as the a la carte trends, again, I'm going to give you an example. So can you advance it one? Thank you. You can see that 2018-19, where we went from $4,600 per day to $26,000. And that pretty much equated primarily to spicy chicken sandwiches. They were no longer, they no longer met the requirement. And so that equated to almost $350,000 in revenue for the year in loss of just that one item. And so it just goes to show that the regulations do highly affect our participation. Our supper kind of looks wonky where it's up and down and up and down and up and down. And in 2018-19, you can see that Independence, Oak Grove, and Silver Creek, we were not able to renew the assets, the Goodwill program, after school program. And so we lost those, and they were big programs. Those were big participation schools for us. So we lost the participation, but we were able to get the grant back then last year. And so that's why the number went up. So as far as the number of meals that we serve, so of the 2,729 breakfasts we serve, 90% of those are free and reduced. So we really do feed the needy. And then as far as lunch is concerned, of the 4,635 lunches we serve per day, about 85% or 85.7% of those are free and reduced. So the next slide, I hope I never have to show this slide again, and it's a personal preference, and it has to do with pricing. And so currently we have no pricing because we're summer seamless, which means no money is exchanged. Everybody gets a free meal. But back when we were doing pricing, I was able to pull this slide from a presentation I prepared for last March, and then COVID hit and I didn't do the presentation. But here are the breakfast and lunch prices for many of our Santa Clara County neighbors. And as you can see, we're the lowest price. And so if we ever have to go back to a pricing model, we're going to have to be looking at that seriously and potentially making some recommendations to the board. I hope that this is something that we're not ever going to have to discuss again, where meals will be community meals in schools and we're able to work to that. And so I hope this is the last time I have to present this information. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transition to the meal count, the COVID meal counts. And so this is the 2020-21 year-to-date through March. And so as you can see, we have had, compared to pre-COVID to now, we've had some significant decrease in participation as far as breakfast, lunch. What's really cool is our supper, because of the way we're distributing the meals, the supper has actually gone way up. And so that's been very good. We're looking forward and we're seeing as kids are coming back on campus, those meal counts are going up. But when you have them captive on audience and on audience, as you have them captive on the campuses, what'll happen is I can see the participation going way up, and when it's readily available and free for those kids. So the next slide, I'm going to apologize because it's a really, really scary slide, but I'm going to walk you through it. And I just want to kind of give you all an understanding as to how our funding works. And so when you look at the funding for income for the program meals, we get income from reimbursements from the federal government, from the state government, and then we have local income where the child pays a per meal cost per meal. And so the top section is the breakfast program, the middle section is the lunch program, and the bottom section is the supper program. And so I'm going to walk you through the supper program. So when you look at supper, again, from earlier slides, and it's eked up just a little bit, but we serve on average 2,729 meals, breakfasts per day. And of those, 68.7% are free, 21.6% are reduced, and 9.7% are paid. And so when you calculate that out, then we have the meals by category. The federal government for a free breakfast gives us $2.20, $1.90, I'm sorry, $2.20 for free, $1.90 for reduced, and 31 cents for paid. And so when you calculate that all out, it's about $5,300 for 1 day's breakfast and income from the feds. State only reimburses on free and reduced. And so when you calculate that out, it's $602. And then when the kids pay their $1.75 for their breakfast, it's going to be $463. So at breakfast on 1 day, we get about $6,392. Do the same thing with lunch, we get about $17,319. And same thing for supper, we get about $3,523, which ends up being about $27,000 in income. So why is Julie going through all of this where it doesn't make any sense? Well, hang on, Chris, 1 second. I actually want to you can keep it right there. That's fine right there. The reason I'm going through this detail is because I want to explain why we're an underfunded program. On average, per day, salary and benefit charge for the child nutrition program is $24,000. And so if we are only making $27,000 and it's costing us $24,000 for the labor alone, it leaves us $4,000 for the food, indirect costs, everything else to operate the program. We've got $4,000. And so with that $4,000, and if we're doing 8,245 meals when you add breakfast, lunch, and supper, and you divide it by meal, you end up with 48 cents per meal to cover the food, the direct, the indirect, and all of that. And so I just got notice in the mail this week that our milk cost has gone up to half pint of milk is 38 cents. And so what that means then is we only have 10 cents left for the meat, the grain, the fruit, and the vegetable. And as you all know from shopping at home, that's not enough to cover it. And so the problem with this is that reimbursement rates are the same nationwide. And so Arkansas gets the same reimbursement rates that we do, but they have a very, very different cost of living in Arkansas. And so what happens then is we end up, and we really do support our employees. And so we want them to be able to live in the area. But to do that with these reimbursement rates, it's tough to make the program break even. And so I just wanted to give you that diagram. I didn't want to scare you with it. So now I'm going to transition into the menu. And so from a menuing standpoint, we have many, many requirements. And so for the breakfast, lunch, and supper program, there are nutrient requirements, as well as we have to offer certain things. And so students have to take those certain things in order for it to be reimbursable on the slide above. Anyway, but I think the example I want to use is I'm going to go back to a la carte. A la carte is one of those things where it's like, well, why can't you just serve ramen noodles? Kids love ramen noodles. It's really easy. You throw hot water in there, you throw the season packet in, and good to go. You can get them for 30 cents at Costco, and you can sell them for $1.50, and everybody's happy. And so it's an awesome idea. The unfortunate part is when you get into those darn nutrient requirements, because of the saturated fat and the sodium, we can't sell them. And so in order for us to receive reimbursement from the state and federal government, we have to meet their requirements. And so many of the items that we would love to be able to serve, they don't meet the requirements. I'm going to go back to that spicy chicken sandwich earlier. When we lost the spicy chicken sandwich, which is by far the #1 seller in the lunch program, supper program, as well as the a la carte program was, when you lose that, that's huge. Anyway, and so when we're developing a menu, the requirements are something we really have to think about often. So other things that we think about when we're doing our menus, we want to feature certain things. We want to have ethnic foods. So prior to COVID, we had 2 items that were just going gangbusters, and that was the pho and the pozole. And so I hope all of you had an opportunity. I see Vaughn going like this. I hope you all had an opportunity to try that pre-COVID. It will come back as soon as we were able to start cooking. And actually, it's more the serving now. We can cook, it's just the getting it served. As soon as we go back to a more normal situation, we'll be bringing those things back. As well as we want to be thinking about current trends. And so as any of you who have teenagers in your household, you know that you can't get it hot enough for a high school kid. And so anything hot is a trend. Ethnic food, plant-based is another huge one. Plant-based offerings, as well as ethnic foods that are Middle Eastern, more Middle Eastern, as well as South American, are trending right now. And something that we were realizing as we've been opening up the student unions, we're realizing that plating the food as compared to pre-wrapping it and having it wrapped up, when we plated the food, it was taken very positively. And so that's another thing as we're opening up the student unions we're excited about doing. And off of the survey that we did last year, some of the things that came up on the survey that are great ideas are oatmeal, fresh fruit cups, different types of soups, as well as the vegetarian and vegan choices. And so we'll be looking at those as we're moving into getting back to more traditional cooking. So we all eat with our eyes. And so the food on the next slide that's actual food that we serve in our kitchens. And so they are, as you can see, the wraps, they are not pre-done. We don't go to 7-Eleven and buy their food and then throw it into a microwave. Our ladies and gentlemen actually cook this food and provide it to the kids. And so as you can see, a lot of this is beautiful. And a couple of those, you can see the plating that I referenced earlier, where the participation on those items really increased when we put it onto a plate as compared to wrapping it up. And there's a reason we wrap it up, but I'll get into that at another time. Anyway, so now some just did you knows, and I think just generally speaking, I spoke to most of these earlier in the presentation, but just funding truly is a challenge. We're underfunded, and so therefore it's I'm reading the chat and I need to stop that. Anyway, food choices, they meet dietary guidelines. And so some people want to think that, oh, it's high fat, high sodium. That's not the case. We meet dietary guidelines. We offer fresh fruits and vegetables every single day. Food is prepared on campus and it is from scratch. And so the ladies and gentlemen actually use recipes. And as you saw in the picture above, it's beautiful food. Every student that participates helps us. And so we really, really encourage kids to eat because, $3.84 helps us every single time. And we also we do special accommodations for any dietary needs. We got a phone call this morning from a young man who is has an allergy to gluten. And so we will be providing him gluten-free meals. And so I think then our future, what does our future look like? So Summer Seamless through September 2022 is amazing. We are really excited about that. Not only are we getting Summer Seamless, which is the really easy service style, but they're also tagging on some additional funding for it, understanding that that what we're doing right now has created additional costs. And so we're getting additional funding reimbursements with the Summer Seamless. We love our student unions. And so the bond program has done some amazing things for us. As you know, child nutrition doesn't have a lot of money to be able to build kitchens or add things to kitchens. And so it's been great having the bond program include us with the student unions. We're working with a young man at Evergreen Valley High School, and he has put together an ordering app. And so as soon as we go back to a traditional on-site service, kids will be able to order their meals early, and I think we even have it set up where they can do it a week in advance, and they can order their meal and it'll be ready to be picked up in alternate locations so we can move the distribution out. We are really going to push for cashless systems so that kids will be using, our families will be using My School Bucks, so that we're going cashless so that nobody's touching anything with the a la carte program. Self-serve and salad bars, those are going to be things that won't be seen for a while because we're going to have to make sure we're meeting CDC and health department codes so that we keep everybody safe. We don't want any transmission or anything. And I think a big one is going to just be COVID protocols. That's something that we've really worked with, and I think we will continue to work with as we move through all of the different phases that I'm sure we'll be going through in the near future. And so with that, I would love to answer any questions you might have.
Wow, I want to say thank you for lovely and really great presentation. And one item that I really appreciate that is ethnic food that I recommend is pho. And finally, we get into the menu. That's very successful. I really want to say thank you to you, Julie Casper, and all the staffs, CSEA have been worked very hard during pandemic. And I know that I went to Andrew Hills High School and provide, the food that, the staff have been working very hard along with Superintendent Fung and Julio Pardo and Administrator Jose Hernandez. And this is really served the community. Everyone can come and just pick up and take off and go. That's really amazing. I'm really impressed about all of the work. And I have to say that, a lot of things that I really want to say is appreciate, everything that staff and everyone would do. And maybe another things is maybe fried rice. The next one, we'll go to the menu. Look at this, I'm still want to give you, I give you much more hard time, right? Julie, you have to think about one of the food that I'm gonna present it to you, and we'll take
good with that.
Because I know probably fried rice would go well with spicy chicken. I don't know, but I think most of Asian students probably really like, fried rice. But that's it for my part. I'm open up for other board member to comment. So who else want to comment on this? No one else?
Yes, I will say that the very nice picture of the food prepared by staff
Make you hungry.
just made me realize that as a policymaker, it's my duty to go and sample some of this, some of what our students are enjoying. So I'm sure I'll be following up.
The kitchens would love to see you.
Absolutely. Go ahead, board member. Oh, let's go with Bruce Nguyen. Bruce, you have raised your hand.
Yeah. So having been a firsthand, how should I put this? I have regularly eaten the school food, and something that stuck out to me is definitely the pozole. I think that was a really great addition. I haven't tried the pho personally, but I would really love to if I ever get the opportunity. And overall, I like the direction that school food is going towards, making it appealing to students so that they would definitely have something in their stomachs before they go to classes. And I can definitely stress that you need food in order to actually function for classes. I relate with with board member Doe about, having Miss Narveson, because her tests are also pretty interesting, and something that kept me running through her test is definitely the spicy chicken. Like I had that every time before I went to her class, and with the snacks and everything, that's what kept me energized for Miss Narveson and all of my other classes.
First, thank you for that, and I will share it with the staff at Independence.
That's awesome. Board Member Chavez, go ahead.
Julie, I still need to try that pozole. Can you believe it? Remember, I said I would like a year ago.
You're
My
gonna go on your
goodness.
birthday.
I know I didn't. But you know, there's always next year when we come back. I will be more on campus. So I will definitely be trying the pozole, the pho, as well. Those two stand out. No, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Julie. I know you do a lot of work, a lot of hard work. It's clear that you're always thinking about how to be innovative and, you know, supporting our CNS staff. They have been on the front line from the moment we, you know, went into this situation with the pandemic. And to your point, they did it with a smile on their face, and Heroes doesn't begin to just, you know, express how we feel about them. So just really grateful. And I think it was Doe who said we should do a stand-up ovation for them at our next board meeting. I think that's a great idea since we're going to be in person anyway. Something to think about. But thank you, Julie, for all the great work and bringing all this yummy food to our wonderful children.
I just want to piggyback off what you just said, Lorena. On next Friday, which is May the 7th, it is School Lunch Hero Day. So if you have a chance to say thank you or go through a drive-through, you don't have to pick a meal up, but just, you know, appreciate them. That's what we're going to be doing next Friday.
Awesome. Awesome. Board Member Doe, go ahead.
Thank you. Julie, I just want to say thank you very much for the hard work that you and your co-workers are doing. I know we don't thank you enough. So on May 7th, you said, you can count on me driving to one of the campus. I'll figure out which one I will drive through, but I definitely will do that. And I appreciate the presentations. Just give us a perspective, especially for a new board member like myself, to understand all the math, the numbers that go through, and understand why we have so many challenges. And so thank you for the presentations. And yes, I think we definitely board as our next in-person meetings. We should have that standing ovation. We'll coordinate with you so that we have a chance to thank the CNS workers in person.
What's really neat is I've been in child nutrition for 35 years. And so not to date myself, but I'm old. Anyway, I've been in child nutrition for 35 years. And with the pandemic, many people are struggling with it. And I have to tell you, I have loved it because it has given folks the opportunity to thank those frontline folks that are serving people every single day and realize how important this program really is. Because we tend to get a black eye. It's, you know, food service is not necessarily something that, you know, on campus that is, you know, that's celebrated necessarily. But during the pandemic, every single day, every single one of the folks, they get some sort of a thank you from at least 10 people, and the masks, you know, donated masks, and the coffee from Starbucks. And it's just been amazing for the frontline folks to get that thank you that is so well deserved.
All right. And any other board member?
Madam President, I suggest possibly, since next Thursday, we're back to in-person board meetings, that we actually sample the food for our dinner.
Absolutely, that's right. I want to do that. I really
that spicy chicken sandwich, huh? No, I'm kidding.
We can't have that anymore, though. Amazing idea, Chris. I say yes.
It would have to be a smorgasbord.
Thumbs up for this. Yes, I know. Thank you a lot, Julie and your staff. And yeah, we cannot say thank you enough. Looking forward to test your food maybe next board meeting, right?
Right. Mr. Fung has a great idea. I think we should do it. If it's not too inconvenient for our staff, yes.
All right. Well, we're going to be in person, so we're going to try it. Absolutely. It's also welcome us back, right? All right. So I know even though you have 10 minutes, but I know that you wrap up a lot of information, and really appreciate that. You know, this item is really dear to my heart. Every time that I would ask for child nutrition, I would say, all right, Julie, we want to see any other updates. So this is really amazing. All right, thank you.
Sorry, one last thing. Can we meet this amazing students who's designing our mute auto app, please? Is that possible?
Well, I'm meeting with him tomorrow. I think so. I don't think it's a problem, but yeah, he is amazing. He's been working with us for over a year now, and he's been the stuff that he has been able to do. It has really been, and how he's been able to incorporate with our current point of service system and the payment system. And he's a very bright individual who's definitely the future. He's a freshman this year. So, no, I'm sorry, he's a sophomore. He's a freshman last year when he started. Wow. You know, it's that just goes to show the kind of kids that we have here at Eastside. So,
Julie, is it operational?
We're getting a demo tomorrow at 3:30 tomorrow. He's going to be demoing it for us. And as soon as we do all of the last tweaks, we're going to get it out to the kitchen managers for them to start playing with it. So
yeah, so Trustee Doe, once it's kind of operational, at least in the beta zone, we'll bring him maybe to the second board meeting in May and he can demonstrate it for us.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. All right, let's move to 13.02. Discussion and action to receive first reading of proposed amendments to Board Bylaw 9270 EA Resolution number 2020-2021, adopting a conflict of interest code and Board Bylaw 9270 EB conflict of interest code, designate position disclosure categories. Mr. Chris Chu, Associate Superintendent of Business Services.
Yes, real briefly, this is an item that we bring to the board at a minimum every other year. However, when we add new positions to the district, we are required to update the conflict of interest board bylaw. So tonight, we're asking for the board for a first reading to review the changes to the board bylaw to reflect two recently added positions, the controller position and the payroll supervisor position to the district.
Thank you. I need a motion.
I know.
Okay, Mary, did you get the motion?
This is just to receive first reading.
Oh,
Okay.
so no motion is what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
okay.
Mary.
All right. So we're going to bring back the next board meeting. All right, so the next one, 13.03, so discussion and action to approve the contract for professional services over 25,000. Mr. Chris Chu, Associate Superintendent.
Move for
Standard.
approval.
I have a request on this one.
Okay.
I would like to pull number 8 from the list because I would like the record to show that the funding for this contract was actually reimbursed by a community fundraising.
Okay. That's good. So you have a motion from.
Move for approval as amended.
Amended for item.
One second.
Okay, good. Roll call, please. Mary.
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay.
Aye.
Vice President Herrera.
Aye.
Clerk Chavez.
Aye.
Member Cortese.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
All right. So we move to 14.01. Discussion and action, right?
Director Williams and the bargaining unit over there and with our good educators at Adult Education worked for and approved the calendar for next year, and we're bringing it to you for your approval. This is the calendar for Adult Ed.
All right. I need a
Move to
motion.
approve.
Second.
All right. Roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Member Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay.
Aye.
Vice President Herrera.
Aye.
Clerk Chavez.
Aye.
Member Cortese.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
All right. Move to 15.0. Is that 15.01?
1402.
Oh, 14.02. Discussion and action to adopt, approve, classify management and certificate administrative holiday schedule for 21-22 school calendar.
Yeah, so the board previously approved the calendar. We met, the district met with CSEA to delineate the holiday schedule. And so that's brought to you for your approve.
All right. I need a motion.
Approve.
Thank
Second.
you. All right, thank you, Lorena. Let's do roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, move to 15.01, discussion and or action to approve the bond capital projects contract over 50,000. Mr. Chris Chu.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, no other comments or question, then we do roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Move 15.02, discussion and action to approve agreement with the City of San Jose for providing community wireless services to additional neighborhood. Mr. Chris Chu and Mr.
Real briefly, so the agreement tonight is to bring on the next 5 campuses for our community wireless program, and also to do some further updating to the James Lake community as far as internet connectivity.
All right, and
Move for approval.
thank you, Lorena Chavez.
Second.
Okay, it's the second board member Doe. Let's do the roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, so we move to Board of Trustees Superintendent Consent Action Calendar. Any board member want to pull out any item or?
Move for approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Trustee Herrera and Board Member Brian Doe. Let's do roll call, please.
Student Governing Board Representative Bruce Wynn, how do you vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Board roll call vote. President Lay,
Aye.
Vice President Herrera,
Aye.
Clerk Chavez,
Aye.
Member Cortese,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We move to item 21.01. Item written report recommendation. Item under section 21, a written report that are received into the public record. No action is taken to the board by the board. A board member or superintendent may pull an item for discussion and request an item to be placed on the agenda for discussion and action of a future meeting. Any board member has any comments? Or for 21.02, we receive a quarterly report on the County of Santa Clara Treasury investment.
No, I have a
question, right? board
a
member?
comment on 2102. I'm sorry. I'll wait till 2103.
Okay, so 21.02, no board comments. So we just receive it, right? Okay, then we move to 21.03. Also receive Eastside Union High School District Summer School 2021 update. Ms. Teresa Marcus with board member Patty Cortese has a question.
Yeah, I have a couple questions, and if it's too much, if the questions are too much, we could just bring it back as a presentation. But I appreciated reading about summer school, especially like the list of questions and answers. Who was the presentation given to?
It was done to any teacher who was interested in learning more about summer school, any certificated staff, classified staff.
Great. How many people actually participated in that?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it was
like tens or hundreds,
no,
or
not hundreds. It was in the maybe 30 to 40 staff, I think, that
okay.
were present.
Okay, got it. And then I got from the questions and answers how the mini courses are being offered and determined. It's basically a site-based thing. There was a mention of offering other non-content specific programs, enrichment programs, mental health, SEL. Are we deciding to do that, or?
Yes, that's part of the consideration too. So we can take, proposals or ideas from principals if they're looking to use an allocation that they have for their, let's say, incoming freshmen or their existing students, to not have it be a content-based course, but to have it be something more around social emotional learning, transition from middle school into high school, and possibly even for existing freshmen to transition into their 10th grade year, being that they have not experienced being on campus in person. I will say though that the materials that you have here were also sent via email to all staff, so they had an opportunity to view. I recorded the session, so they had an opportunity to review the recorded session, as well as see the presentation and see the Q&A.
Oh, very good. So you're saying that it's basically a site-based decision about whether we're offering, social emotional learning or mental health type of programs?
Yeah, and it's also based on staffing, availability of staffing. And so sites get to determine their course offerings based on data, based on need of student and staffing, based on the staffing that they may have that's available to provide those different programs.
What's the funding for that?
The funding is the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant that we can tap into, which actually I will be bringing to the board for adoption on the May 20th. So we're hoping to be able to use some of those funding should the board approve that plan. But summer school has traditionally and historically been accounted for through our LCAP funds, as well as Title I funds. And then school sites also use their own funds. We also have a partnership with Goodwill Assets, and they've also funded a number of our sections across our school sites.
Okay, so that first funding source, it's COVID money, right?
Yeah, I suppose COVID money. It's part of the SB 86
yes,
legislation.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, we spared a presentation from showing up next board meeting.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
All right, so we move to 22.01, opportunity for Board of Trustees to request item on future agendas. So anyone has any future items, 22.02 and 22.03 annual governance calendar? Okay.
I'll just chime in. I do have some. So I wanted to hear about our fall preparation for coming back in person, and also what the online option will look like, because some students may not be ready to come back in the fall. So are we going to do, I thought I read in something, maybe it was the Q&A from summer school, that we're going to do Cyber High only in the fall for an online option, but we don't need to go into it now. I just would like to hear more about what does the fall look like? Really keeping in mind all of our students and families' needs that might not exactly be, as cut and dried as everybody comes back, right? So that's one thing. And then also I noticed on the agenda that I'd asked for something at the last board meeting that didn't quite get on here about our expulsion plan. And particularly with regard to the reentry plan, which the expulsion was a report that was on last meeting, and it talked about developing a reentry plan. I just kind of want to hear about how that's going and how MTSS fits in with the expulsion plan.
Sorry, we missed that, so we'll make sure it's added. And we'll also bring back thoughts about the fall. Let me just say two things initially. One, that my expectation for all school districts is that we will be back in the fall for in-person learning every single day. The question will be, what are the public health guidelines? And do we may have to have an alternative program, meaning if there's still that 3 to 6 foot limitation, then there's no way we'll be able to have classes that have 32, 33 kids in them, which means that class section would have to be split up into 2. So kids will be in person every day, but they won't see all their teachers every single day. The other piece is in terms of the online learning, we're going to need some flexibility from Sacramento for online learning. Otherwise, it is just independent studies or cyber high. That's our only option right now under the current pre-COVID ed code. So hopefully Sacramento is going to give us some flexibility to do more things in the fall, because we do know that some families will prefer to stay in distance learning just because their child's not 16 yet and hasn't been vaccinated or what have you. And quite frankly, we will still have some staff that with their health issues, it would be more appropriate to provide them an online space to continue to teach. Now, I don't think that's going to be, 10% of our population, but it will be something, but we need more flexibility for Sacramento, but we certainly should begin having that conversation and having plan A and plan B, depending on the flexibility we get.
Great, and I also wanted to just say with my request on the expulsion plan that I'm not necessarily in a hurry for that, because I know you all have a lot on your plate right now. And so just if it's sometime in the next year, I just would like to, I just wanted to hear about it at some point. But
Right, and we just missed adding it, so thank you, we'll add it.
yeah, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure that you don't put pressure on yourselves to get that out.
Thank you.
I'd like to have a request to have a presentation for English learner from different school site. And if the comparison in the last 5 years, did we make a lot of progress to support English learners student? So I would like to see the whole picture of our school site, not just only one. I know that today we saw a couple of schools present the English learner, but I'd like to see overall the whole school site district.
So that's fair, and that's a good question. We implemented a strategy about 4 or 5 years ago where we have hubs at 4 or 5 of our schools. So I think it's worthwhile to do a deep dive to see how effective that strategy was and whether we should continue to do that. So instead of saying the whole district, is it okay if we just focus on that strategy and look at the 5 hubs? Okay,
I think that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so can we move to 23.01? I want to ask Board Vice President Manuel Herrera, any comments?
Yes, it's important to me that I take responsibility for and own that at last week's board meeting on April 22nd, as we were ending our meeting with board comments, I inadvertently breached the confidentiality of our superintendent selection process. And I'm so thankful that we have strong and wise management leadership in our district that is working in true partnership as we move forward together. So thank you. That's my comment.
Right, thank you, Board Vice President Herrera. About Board Member Lorena Chavez.
No comment.
Okay, Board Member Patty Cotizzi.
Great meeting. No further comment.
Board Member Brian Doe.
Great meeting, of course. I really enjoyed our meetings, and I also want to share that I have an opportunity to visit Independent High School yesterday and meet with the principals, meet with the social workers, the counselors, and it's such a pleasure to come back to my old high school. A lot of building looks familiar, but some new. And so it's very fitting that it's where I graduate from. So now that I get to see the first school, as student coming back, I intend to visit as many schools during this particular time period on a Wednesday when the students are coming back, as many as possible, hopefully all of them, but we only have a few weeks. So, and I hope my colleague would also consider visiting the school and watching the energies of our staff and our students. And I want to thank my colleagues and the staff for this wonderful meeting.
Trustee Doe, did the principal show you the proposed new student union that's going to be built?
No, he has not. So I may have to come back to IHHS again.
It's going to be beautiful.
I might join you next time, Board Member Brian Doe. I would like to say thank you to Board Vice President Trustee Herrera that helped me to close the meeting last week because my internet is unstable and I could not. And I also want to say thank you, IT Department, Omar Gutierrez, also Randy Fels, that helped me come to my house and make sure that I have the high-speed internet. But what I'm learning is what I got the high-speed internet, but this is an old program. So I have to complain and I have to fight. Finally, I got a better high-speed internet and pay less than what I paid earlier. So that's something that I've learned from my experience. So I don't have any other interruption. I really thank you, all board member that really bear with me for during the time. And I also want to mention about, I'm in the Rotary Club for East and Evergreen, and they have a scholarship for our East Side student who will attend the college with a career. And I think that they've been working with Superintendent Fung to reach out to our students. So something that I'm really treasure, for our student. So that's all I have to really say, but I really appreciate all of you today and support, a lot of good stuff, even though the emotional item that I presented earlier this evening. Okay, so let's move to Bruce Nguyen, Student Governing Board Representative. We'd like to hear from your comment, Bruce.
Yeah, I think this board meeting was really, really productive in that a lot of the things that students have wanted over the past few years and have talked to the Student Governing Board about mental health, it was listened to, and that resulted in a discussion of having more wellness centers and the construction of better facilities to house students and to give students the resources they need in terms of social and emotional learning. I also wanted to reiterate that it's always great to stay safe and to get vaccinated. As a reminder for anyone here that's eligible, there is a vaccination site at James Lick, and they'll be handing out free boba. And I know that a lot of students do enjoy boba, so that is something that I will also advertise as well. In addition to that, I know that other schools across our district might be holding a prom. For example, Yerba Buena just announced their own in-person prom, which I might be jealous of because Independence doesn't have the same opportunities. We have a larger student body and a senior class, but good for them. Just remember, always wear a mask and to socially distance. And as we approach May, I also urge people to also prioritize their well-being because of finals and AP exams, and as we're nearing the end of the year, that is something to be aware of. And as we approach the next year, I also want the district to think about ways to practice restorative restart and to engage with students that might be disengaged with Zoom and distance learning and school overall. And I do have a few more meetings left, and I will be graduating and going off to somewhere really, really great university. So those are my comments pretty much. Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce, for your comments. You really touched our heart, and we will miss you. Definitely, we will miss you. But be sure to come back, and visit us, when you have time. Absolutely, as you're very one of the leader, from our Student Governing Board. So we're really treasure for your comments. Okay, the next one I will ask Mr. Superintendent Fung. You like any comment?
Thank you. Yeah, just two things. Bruce, I'm sure at YB it's just a virtual prom because dances are not allowed. So thank you for that. I'll follow up to be sure. And then, Madam President, I just saw the invoice that IT is going to be issuing you for that work. So we'll see if you can still give them thanks after you see that bill.
Uh-oh. All right, thank you,
Just kidding.
Superintendent. Thank you, Superintendent. I know the next one is board meeting evaluation, but I want to remind our board that we will go back to our closed session. We still have an item that we need to be discussed. So I'm trying to see if we can have enough time to do that, but I move on to 24.01, but actually board meeting evaluation today I think is very good, with very, very good item that we need to be discussed today, very effective, and I think is we have enough time to take a bit longer than we anticipate. So I don't know that Rogelio, do we have any legal counsel report on closed session? I don't think so, right?
No, there are no closed session actions to report, and there won't be any actions when the board reconvenes, after the board reconvenes for closed session this evening.
So good. So I want to say that we're going to go back to closed session, then we will come back to the open session to adjourn the meeting.
And Madam President, I think it helps to let everyone know there will be no actions to report.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's
people don't need to wait around to hear if there's some action. There will be no action to report.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Board Vice President. Yeah, we have no action to be reported after our closed session. So it's something that if you want to wait and stay, then that's up to you. But I think I'm very tired. One thing is I really appreciate all my board members that put up with me, because I'm trying to recover from my surgery. That's why I'm asked to be in a virtual meeting, and we will come back next week in person. Really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna leave and we come back with a closed session. Bye, everyone. All right. As right now, 10:05, I'm the president and I want to adjourn the meeting. No other report from closed session at all. Thank you, everyone. You have a good night.